Bueno, gente, estamos en directo. Segundo día del play-in, segundo día del Worlds 2022. Vamos a estar acá, al igual que ayer, cubriendo todo el día, viendo todas las partidas, analizando todas las partidas en directo. Así que vamos a darle, igual que ayer. Faltan todavía unos minutitos para que arranque la primera partida de hoy. Detonation contra Fnatic, Fnatic contra Detonation. Bien, compartiendo el directito en mis redes y ya nos metemos de lleno a ver qué pasa. Esperemos que hoy no haya problemas de conexión y demás como ayer. Sacaron un comunicado los de Riot diciendo que van a continuar con los testeos y todo, obviamente, pero van a intentar de que todos puedan competir on stage, que es lo que hablábamos ayer. Es justamente lo que hablábamos ayer. Ponele barbijo y que suba al escenario a jugar con sus compañeros y ya está. Y punto. No nos tengas 80 horas dando vueltas porque resulta que la conexión y bla bla bla. Más que tuvieron tiempo para solucionarlo, pero bueno. En teoría, hoy ya, con la experiencia de ayer y todo, no va a pasar lo mismo. Van a solucionar mejor las cosas, más rápido. No nos van a hacer clavar acá un montón de tiempo esperando. Sobre todo porque ayer terminamos a las 3 de la mañana. Se hizo súper tarde. Se hizo más de 2 horas de lo estipulado, digamos. Una locura. Pero bueno. Arranca Fnatic con Detonation. Vamos a ver si Detonation remonta un poco, porque lo que vimos ayer de los japoneses, la verdad que dio bastante pena, sinceramente.
DFM to me looked really rattled, and you never got the combination that you already pointed out of Hop and Steel that kind of can set up the rest of the team. When we talk about DFM, we always talk, as we should, about Abby and Utapon, but they need to be set up. And I think yesterday DFM just wasn't able to really do that, never found their groove, and it really hurt them.
Absolutely, and a small thing, just to look in the pick ban, because Wonder as a player, great on the weak side. He's going to early pick his option. If it's going to be Aatrox, Maokai, whatever it's going to be, that is going to be the target for Detonation Focus Me. They should play topside as they usually are comfortable with. That's what I'm looking for.
Gentlemen, I want you to use these last 30 seconds, give me a prediction on how the teams will win their specific game and which champion you expect to see in draft as we're getting ready to go to Casters.
Aatrox, baby, we're just going to see
Vamos a ver si ese Maokai se juega support hoy. Si se juega support. Si pasa algo para ayudar un poco al piquem. Ya tuvimos el primer penta, de upset con Kalista. Así que van a pasar el video. Esta vez no lo vimos 2 veces, Las hice pero en video, no subí la imagen. Y el primer robo de Baron también, es verdad. Xiaohu con LeBlanc. No sé si vieron los drops. Igual ayer, en el drop que me dieron a mí, me tocó una cápsula adentro de una cápsula y adentro un icono, o sea, genial. Ni siquiera un gesto, que por lo menos lo uso, pero el icono.
Sí, a mí me tocó el de Fanfla.
I think from
O sea,
my side,
era muy
every
fácil.
single aspect. I miss
De verdad, a Fanplas le cagó el piqué.
Now it's time for the real show.
No, no estoy en Twitch, estoy solo en YouTube. Tuve una época que probé con Twitch, pero no me gusta. Prefiero YouTube porque ya se me sube todo automático, ya me queda guardado para siempre acá. Sí, porfa, iniciame la cuenta en All Sports. Así no tengo tantas cosas abiertas acá que estoy mareadísimo. Estoy con tantas boludeces abiertas que tengo.
I'm really motivated to prove that we are worthy of the world stage. I'm familiar with worlds at this point, so we will make it to groups.
Bueno, si va a arrancar rápido, nos vamos al full screen. De una. Nos vamos al full screen de una y esperar que empiecen las partidas.
Teams to make it into worlds. It's my chance and I have to like now do the best.
Todo el tiempo la canción, yo sé que todos los años ponen la canción y todo, pero esta ya me está cansando un poco. Fnatic estaba en stage hoy. Lo que decía antes. Que no tiene ni... Lo que pasó ayer no tenía ningún puto sentido, la verdad. Lo que pasó ayer con el tema Fnatic no tenía ningún sentido. No solo con Fnatic, con todos en realidad.
Banger for EU fans. That's true. Certain people felt the bangers. Some of them did not. I did not. LEC and LCK feeling pretty good. LEC looking to keep that good feeling rolling here.
Sí, amigo, se puede tranquilamente siempre y cuando lo comentes, lo analices, estés vos y hagas tu contenido. No puedes retransmitir una... O sea, yo no puedo, por ejemplo, poner la retransmisión tal cual de ellos, con el volumen de ellos y sin aparecer yo y sin hablar. Pero yo comentando arriba y demás puedo hacerlo tranquilamente. Mucha gente lo hace. De todos los países, en todos los idiomas. No hay ningún problema con eso. Vamos a ver qué pasa con Detonation, Tengo la intriga de ver con respecto a ayer si mejoraron algo. Si entendieron un poco.
Shaking hands. There's always those kind of cute moments that you can sometimes see where players like trade jerseys or like sign each other's stuff, you know, as they're all often fans of each other and whatnot. And getting that kind of interaction is always really cool to see. Yeah, we don't get this that many times a year, right? Especially at this level with this teams.
Claro, sí, lo mismo con la Gamescom, con el E3, con lo que sea. Se puede tranquilamente. Lo que vos no podés es retransmitir el mismo contenido que ellos sin poner sin hacer nada, digamos. De hecho, hay canales específicos que no son de Riot, que te pasan las partidas, te pasan todo, y tienen... Onivia es un claro ejemplo, por ejemplo. Te pone la cara del chaboncito reaccionando porque si no, no se puede. Pasa que lo que hace Ibai es otra cosa. Él quiere castear la partida, o sea, él quiere tener... o sea, quiere hacer lo que hacía antes con Riot, pero por su cuenta. Es otro tema totalmente diferente. Yo estoy reaccionando, digamos. Puedes reaccionar al contenido que quieras. Al menos en YouTube, no sé cómo se manejará Twitch, por ejemplo. Pero YouTube se puede. Porque esto lo llevo haciendo un montón de tiempo, con un montón de cosas. Ayer lo hicimos. Te digo que ya lo averigüé y todo. No vas a decir a mí que no se puede. Te digo que se puede. Van a Cali. El Van a Cali era para Dragon X, que no era para todos. Graves, Kalista, Eka, un poco más lo mismo, esa Kate. ¿Qué me queda para banear?
into 4 more people.
Silas es una posibilidad, pero bueno, y la verdad que va a jugar Víctor probablemente.
Somehow in the support position, which is usually a role that cannot do that.
Que vamos a añadir a Draven. Draven es una posibilidad también, aunque Upset puede jugar cualquier cosa. Aatrox era un buen ban también posible, porque Wunder es bueno con Aatrox.
Absolutely, we'll catch up on draft real quick. Hecarim, Akali, Caitlyn banned on the Fnatic side. Dead FM gonna go ahead, ban Draven, Callisto, Graves. 3 marksmen out of there.
Oh,
And
the
LSD
LSD is right.
did predict correctly. Aatrox right in there. B1.
Fnatic va a jugar muy de manual, yo creo. Ya está Hillisang además, que ayer no estaba. Ayer jugó bien el otro support, la verdad. Le sacaron Víctor, bueno, y ya no puede jugar.
No, not yet. Crondle, though, one of the responsible
Va a tener que jugar
for Steel. Planning it there.
LeBlanc.
So nice solid
Puede
copy.
jugar, no es el mejor de los matchups, pero
Yeah.
Lee para Razor, bien. Que lo tapo. LeBlanc, como decía, no es el mejor de los matchups, pero es humanoid. Así que lo más probable es muy de manual humanoid, así que ahí vengo.
Was absolutely disgusting. You saw like Korean casters reacting to it. Went global for sure, and this speaks to the super team prowess of Fnatic, because Upset was also crushing yesterday. Wunder, it was across the board domination.
Good as always happens, you know. I don't watch that much LCS, I'll be perfectly honest. I have my own reason to contend with, but every time, you know, EU mid rocks up to it in enough fun, I'm like, wow, they aren't that good, huh?
Yeah.
Even though definitely been as good as advertised, or if not better, so far in this play-in stage, alongside the Lee Sin there for his LeBlanc, so very different angle as far as the mid jungle goes, a lot more aggressive, as Misfortune has also been pretty popular pick so far at Worlds. Will be taken here for Yutapon, as Pyke gonna be banned away by Hillsong, which is one of those necessary evils, to be perfectly honest.
Yes, it is the respect ban that Hillsong instantly brings to the table. I do like TFM here going for this kind of scaling team fight comp. It's pretty telegraphed at this point when you have Victor and MF locked in. You can always maybe pick a split pushing topside if Evie wants to play either his, you know, pocket pick Urgot is something that he's well known for. Does he want to bust out of Fiora? It's not exactly a champion of his that you see too often. Hasn't played it yet this year, but maybe he has some counter pick he's ready to go for that will make it a 4-1 comp. But otherwise, I'm just expecting front-to-back team fight for DFM here.
Nautilus the other one, so continuing to target Killy, and then Sejuani taking some of the potential safer picks out of the top lane. Wanda wanting to bring some volatility, perhaps, in the 1v1 or the 2v2, if Razork wants to go ahead and pop up there. Last ban, though, is lining up, and it is Yuumi continuing to get attention on the ban table.
Yep, Yuumi Sejuani. They've been banned earlier on. Sejuani has looked like a bit of a menace. Probably one of the better frontline options in the meta right now. And instead, we're going to see the Kennen locked in for Evie. Already there. Having some range advantage into the Aatrox. Brings some magic damage as well. Gonna make it so a lot of people want to prioritize MR, and then your MF ultimate gets to rip through the entire team.
Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of this kind of thing. You have to imagine if Aatrox continues to be a popular pick on blue side, which it certainly will be if it's left open. Eventually, we'll either run out of counter picks or we'll find the one that works.
Well, I feel like that's the situation when you see this kind of Aatrox blue side spam. Is it does put a lot of onus on your top laners to play the actual hard counters to try and punish and put some fear in the enemy team if they're gonna do that. Otherwise, if you're just taking these like soft counters, which I would say Kennen definitely fits more into that territory of like you don't really dominate the lane or crush that matchup, then eventually the blue side just becomes so much higher prio in the meta.
Well, we've started to see this again, and Chronicler, you were close! Not quite there on where Maokai was gonna go. It is the pickup, but it is Hilly's Maokai this game.
This is Hilly's Maokai. I forget who was talking about. Someone for their pick'em said that Maokai would be the most flex champion. This is now the third role we're seeing him in just 2 days of World.
I put him in my my flex slot for Crystal Ball pick.
Hey, there you go, buddy. You look real good.
I believe I stole that from Azale, so thank you.
No, maybe a lot of people did that, because I don't think it was either of you I was thinking of. Maybe it wasn't that big, high level of a pick if everyone was doing it.
Maybe not. Did look good yesterday, though. Really domineering vision control with saplings, especially once you get the cooldown rolling. We saw that be a pretty big thing in the DRX game yesterday when they played up against RNG.
Yeah, obviously Def was incredible. Zeko was popping off.
¿Para qué te voy a decir si la comunidad del LoL es lo más porfiado que hay? La comunidad del LoL es así. Vos posteas una imagen en 2+2 es 4 y el jugador de LoL te dice no, es 5. Yo tengo razón. Es así en todo. Comprobado cuando subo las tier list. Bueno, volviendo a la partida, Maokai support, che. Ya tuvimos Maokai. Tuvimos Maokai top, Maokai jungla, Maokai support. Era el pick más más viable para jugar en diferentes roles. Yo me fui por Sejuani para no ser tan obvio del Maokai, porque Sejuani también puede ir support, ya fue top, ya fue jungla, puede aparecer support, pero vamos a ver qué pasa. Vamos a ver qué sucede con Sejuani. Yutapon juega re adelante, bien pegado al monitor y con el teclado súper torcido. Es que es súper raro, ¿eh? De toda la vida juego así, es increíble. Juega de la forma más incómoda posible.
Te iba a comentar un claro ejemplo. Por ejemplo, en LoL Hero.
Ajá.
Hostié el meta de CES para
Sí.
Wars.
Sí.
Para Wars.
La gente no
Para Wars. No lo entienden.
no, la gente no lee.
Me puso, vamos a hacer Riot, vamos a hacer cambios en sí para que puedan usar como tirador y no como asesinas. Sí, los puntos. Postdata. Y los Kindred y Six.
No, es que de hecho en una de las tiers hoy se me ponen a discutir de que Aphelios no se puede blimpiquear. Pero man, no estás blimpiqueando nunca porque es draft. No hay blimpique en el Worlds, pero la gente no lee, es increíble.
Yeah, no LeBlanc shenanigans, level 1 either. You see sometimes take W, pop some walls, try and get a ward down on it to a red brush. Not going to be the case this time. Playing more defensively, protecting Razork's path instead.
Yeah, it looks like both junglers gonna have some help, a little bit of defense there. They'll be starting on the opposite sides of the rift, so we'll see.
Sekenen.
As I imagine there'll be a decent amount of fun.
Detonation, uff.
Eyes on Fnatic for this early game.
Detonation con una composición muy clásica,
Depending on how things are going.
Muy clásica.
So Fnatic kind of finding their groove in that playoff run, while it did not end as far as obviously Fnatic fans wanted.
Fnatic tiene la posibilidad de jugar un early bastante movedizo con Lee. Tiene Lee, tiene Aatrox. Pasa que Kennen tampoco es muy gankeable.
For Upset, who absolutely I think was probably the best player in that run. He was incredible to watch. So they have started ramping up, and I think there's a question of, you know, Fnatic really hit their ceiling this year yet? I don't think so. And so as a third seed from Europe, they could secretly be very, very good.
Oh yeah, definitely a threatening team. Upset certainly looking good early on in the tournament.
LoL ya tuviera
We'll continue that form here.
Y ayer estuvimos 10 horas en directo.
Once to get aggressive in the 1v1, if you can, at least in the early levels, you have
Se
to
ve
abuse
que
your
La-
te tiran así porque a él no le funcionó, ¿viste? Entonces,
No, porque a la gente le gusta hablar por hablar, simplemente.
si quieren hacer creadores saben todo.
Pero la comunidad de LoL es así, yo estoy acostumbrado. Juego hace casi 12 años esta mierda. En la Argentina, que hay 40k en cada grupo. En 40k en la fanpage. Y más de 100.000 personas. ¿Sabes los porfiados que me crucé en todo este tiempo? Cuidado, que están sobreagresivos esa botlane y baja Steel y la Fairblood. Fairblood para Yutapon. Y se lleva también la assist Trundle por el pilar. Que vuelva, ¿cómo se llama? Rux, el de ayer. El super suplente. Que vuelva. Déjame a Hillisan cebando mate en el banco. Baja Razork. Harp no tiene flash, pero bien Yutapon cubriendo la Q de Lee. Vamos a ver qué hace Steel con Trundle, Ayer vimos, creo que fue el Yoya, jugaron Trundle agresivo, subiendo la Q, que antes era muy común, pero ahora no es tan común maxear la Q en Trundle. Muchas veces se usa, comentaba ayer, la W si quieres limpiar rápido, la E si necesitas presencia en early para gankear más. La Q la vas a utilizar cuando necesitas más para pelea y demás. La Q la maxeas más cuando necesitas peleas o cuando necesitas robar, cuando vas a invadir un poco. Ayer el Yoya hizo eso, vamos a ver qué hace Steel ahora. Y otra cosa que notamos es que el smite azul casi no se usa en competitivo, ¿eh? El rojo tiene mucha más utilidad. Sin embargo, en solo que usan mucho más el azul porque por lo general no vas a conseguir la comunicación que tenés acá. Entonces muchas veces ese slow te hace la diferencia. Razork yendo a mid. Yajaron sin flash, Yajaron quemó flash, se va a escapar igual. Se va a escapar por la W, pero quemó flash mano a mano, no lo vimos eso. Bueno, y también acaba de quemar flash. No se va a morir, pero... Porque no está a 6 humanoid todavía. Nada que ver igual como arrancó japonés como arrancó ayer. Ayer hicieron cualquier cosa, no sé si porque no estaban... Es que también después se van a hacer... Bueno, no pasaron lo que pasó en top. A ver la rep ahora. Después que pasa el Worlds y todo, como pasó la edición pasada, van a surgir un montón de cosas sobre lo que pasó ayer, por ejemplo, cómo afectó el rendimiento de los equipos y todo. El tema de no poder jugar todos on stage y todos esos problemas. Como pasó el año pasado, por ejemplo, con la partida entre los Thieves y Edward, que ganaron los Thieves, que se sabía que hubo pausas y hubo problemas con Edward, y después se supo que Edward, no me acuerdo si era Meiko, creo, tenía problemas con la PC y demás, y no se lo corrigieron y le dijeron, es lo que hay, jugó así. Y por eso también en parte perdieron. Hay que ver después qué pasó ayer. Como la peli. Wunder súper agresivo con un overextend sin sentido y Evi castigando. Bien por Evi, que ayer jugó una partida horrible. Ese grito. Ese grito random cerca del micrófono.
And kind of snapshot his CSD at 14 at the end of this play-in, because so far he's absolutely gapping people. Yohong no exception right now, double chains land, Hilly's here, but the defense is good for Dead FM. Steel going to be moved back, Hart goes in. Hilly's staying in trouble, Aftershock wears off, but he gets out safely, Wing to a minion.
Yeah, thank God that minion was there for him to W2, get that little taxi ride to safety, because otherwise with no flash, looks like a chase down. But with this pressure from mid lane, DFM start grouping up around this Ocean Dragon. Might want to start stacking that one down as
Upa.
Big chain.
Se va igual Evi, pero trayendo bien Aatrox, a pesar de que todavía no tiene nivel 5. Comentábamos ayer que Aatrox, bueno, buen pick-up de Fnatic, aprovechando que todavía tiene como unos 20 segundos para el flash, Víctor. Buen pick-up de Fnatic. Ayer comentábamos que el mejor pick de Aatrox, llegado el mid-game, recién empieza a aprovechar su potencial cuando tiene la Q nivel 5, que es donde hace mucha diferencia en daño en lane. Steel congelando un poco, sacando los minions de abajo de la torre. Hay que ver si ese Víctor va por un eco de Luden o va, bueno, tempestad de Luden en realidad, o va por una corona. Yo no creo que la corona sea el mejor pick. Es muy defensivo para... O sea, te sirve en lane contra LeBlanc, pero después te vas a quedar un poco atrás en daño. Hasta que recién pueda sacar segundo y tercer ítem Rabadón. Shutapon atrás en minions.
Is Humanoid going to pop out of a brush somewhere? You can see how much pressure that Humanoid is forcing DFM to kind of react to and make sure that they are protecting him.
Bueno, Razork, un fake check porque pero sin visión se va a morir igual. Yo no hubiera gastado todo eso. Y además soñando un poco Dragon en ese momento sin mucho sentido, porque estaba completamente solo. Mid todavía no estaba ahí. Y esto es Heraldo para Trundle.
Good news though, with Razork being down the bottom side and dying, Steel had free time on the Herald, which he has now picked up.
Yep, so even though Humanoid has pressure in the mid lane, Evie has pressure in the top side, no jungle to contest, easily taken there for Steel. And that's a pretty big takeaway for DFM to not only be getting all these kills, your bot lane accelerated in the game. Now with this, you can find a lane to funnel that kind of plate gold into, most likely bot lane, but they might try and go topside and just put this matchup even further in Evie's favor.
Yeah, Razork, of course, knows the Herald is down, so going to go ahead and take the crab while it spawns. Trying to poke up here on Evie and see if you can maybe get some pressure off. Wunder ready with the World Ender, no flash for a little bit, but Evie...
Perdiendo el tiempo Razork ahí, porque no va a poder piquear a ese... Upa, se viene. Pasa que una LeBlanc te va a costar sacarla abajo de torre,
Yeah, we'll see if they can find this angle. There's not really much of a chance to really kill LeBlanc here, but they're going to go for it.
That is a very nice attempt, but Humanoid real quick distorts out of the way.
Yeah, not going to work out there. Looking for it, not the case, but even just to relieve pressure.
Y seguía, man. ¿No tenés nada más importante que hacer? Como ver el Mundial, por ejemplo. Como te estoy diciendo que ayer transmitimos 10 horas, que ya transmití varios mundiales, que ya reaccioné a un montón de otras cosas, que hacemos esto hace 20 millones de años. Ya digo que ya Very se puede, que lo hace un montón de gente, de todos los países, de todos los idiomas. No tenés nada mejor que hacer, como prestar atención a la partida, por ejemplo. No se puede ser tan porfiado, hermano. Qué greedy el Lee, Qué greedy Razork ahí. Es más, justamente hablando de Lee, me discutieron toda la semana de que Lee estaba súper nerfeado y que no se iba a jugar en Worlds ni una vez. Steel sin maná, se va a tener que ir para atrás. Bueno, igual no va a conseguir mucho más que ese escudo. Demasiado greedy Razork en esta partida, Si capaz conectaba esa ulti por encima de Kennen y lo levantaba con la patada a Trundle. ¿Por qué?
Swimming in money now as he moves back towards the top side. And Detonation Focus Me, almost 1,000 gold in the lead, is still a pretty slim margin as far as the game is concerned, but things going in the right direction.
Además, una vez termina la transmisión en directo, esto pasa a ser un bot, básicamente, Porque después, entre una partida y otra, nos jugamos algo, hacemos otra cosa, como ayer. Así que, básicamente... No, ni siquiera he visto el de ayer, por eso te digo.
Of most international viewers, and they had been able to make a lot of upsets happen over the years, and it was just disappointing to see yesterday, but they are clearly bouncing back hard today.
Hillisang también está bastante greedy esta partida, pero bueno, se va a salvar con la ulti. El Yutapon tiene ulti, cuidado, ya no se va a salvar Hillisang, definitivamente. Nada que ver este Detonation con el de ayer,
Bueno, amigo, nadie te lo pidió el consejo,
¿Y qué es lo que te estoy comentando?
La perra seguía. Después te va a decir, no, porque no puedes jugar ese juego, porque el juego dijo que no puedes transmitir, porque la gente dice...
Bueno, hablamos el 3 de noviembre, cuando termine el mundial, creo que es el 3 de noviembre por ahí. Y vemos. ¡Ah! Se salvó con la poción reutilizable, Si es que se llama así en castellano, porque la verdad que los nombres en español los tengo bastante oxidados. Buen early de Detonation dentro de todo,
but Wunder will take away the red buff instead. Yeah, there's been a lot of action in this game, and the reason I know that, Mark, is because that Ocean Dragon is the first one that might be taken in this game. We're actually just past 14 minutes. I mean, with these solo lane matchups, you can understand the focus being
recargó Solmar. Y bueno, se ve que en la casa no me da atención, ¿qué querés que te diga? En vez de mirar el game, viste, se ponía a buscar si se podía o no se podía. Le re preocupaba. El abogado de Riot. Primera torre para Detonation. Eco de Lumen al final, bueno, Tempestad de Lumen para Víctor. Lo que comentábamos antes, Corona era muy defensivo, así que está bien el pick. Cuidado, lo van a poder matar. Lo van a poder matar. Bien, buen pick-up para Fnatic. Evi quedándose de más, sobre todo porque no tenía flash ahí. Esa torre ya estaba caída. Buen early para Detonation cuando realmente Fnatic tenía que haber aprovechado mucho más este early, ¿eh? Mucho más. No solo por Lee Sin, no solo por el pique de Lee Sin, sino porque en lane tenías una buena posibilidad. En mid, por ejemplo. Top, dentro de todo, Evi se defendió bien. Después, al principio puedes harasear bastante y después puedes defenderte bastante bien. Esa ulti de Maokai no va a llegar a nada. Alistar igual tiene ulti. No la va a necesitar tampoco. Ahora sí. Buena ulti de Harp. Me mata que en el skin de Alistar giran las verjas esas, no sé cómo por dónde se llama. Las maderitas de los corrales. Los dos mid van a ir por la misma build, yo creo, Tempestad y Lumbria. Linda partida, la verdad no esperábamos tanta paridad. Después de ver a Detonation ayer, yo creo que lo de ayer fue pura y exclusivamente por todos los problemas que tuvo Detonation para poder jugar. Como hablábamos ayer, a Brasil siempre le regalan una partida. Siempre creo que fue contra Brasil esa, no sé. Siempre tiene una partida. Hasta ahora me gustó más este Rux que Hylissang. Pasa que Hylissang este último tiempo estuvo bastante irregular, la verdad. Estuvo bastante irregular. Tiene partidas muy buenas, como partidas malas en toda la LEC. Ya, Yaharon se va a salvar. Tiene flash, además ni siquiera lo va a necesitar. Hylissang está un poco en un cumple hoy, Bien, Fnatic aprovechando. Upa. Se va a salvar Steel, no se va a salvar Steel. Ahora Razork, Upset. Razork se va a salvar, Upset no. No era la mejor de las decisiones. Liviar ahí. Era push y rotar a top. Bueno, no sé si se va. Sí, se va a salvar porque no tiene ulti Evi. Ya la gastó antes. Hylissang, ¿qué hace acá? Van a volver porque no tienen visión del resto del equipo. No tienen nadie en visión literalmente. Mandan de vuelta a Wunder a top. Cuidado que Wunder ya puede pelear, Lo que hablábamos antes. Tiene ulti, tiene nivel 5 en la Q, ya tiene eclipse. Tiene el zorro de hechizos. Ayer en una de las partidas, creo que fue la de Dragon X contra Roger, creo que fue la última, que hablábamos de ese heraldo en mid, que me había sido mejor aprovechado, y ahora, bueno, ni hablar. Un heraldo totalmente desperdiciado. 50-50. Evi no tiene flash, pero hasta que llega Aatrox, cuidado, Wunder. Wunder ya no tiene ulti, ahora puede hacer un reengage, pero no va a forzar porque no tiene flash. Kennen no va a forzar Detonation, supongo. Me van a chasear un poco.
Yeah, they're able to get away with it, get their dragon stacking going a little bit here. I can see the restraint from Evi with no... Hold on, Harp finding this angle.
Ooh, okay, onto Wonder is the intended target there, but it's a 2v4 kind of.
Bueno.
To find the way over expressway for the Kaiser ulti. He's gonna push him in and
No overextend sin sentido de Detonation, sin visión tratando de conseguir visión. Cuidado que esa torre está a nada, Razork. Super greedy. Razork no tiene flash. Todavía no tiene CD en la W, no tiene ward, se va a morir. Razork que está en un cumple también, Razork que estuvo bastante perdido hoy. Harp ahí sin ninguna necesidad complicó a todo el equipo, Evi tuvo que gastar la ulti para nada. Terminan muriendo 2. Y bueno, Razork les dice: sacaron mucha ventaja, esperen que le equiparamos un poco, y se regala un poquito ahí, sin demasiado sentido. Además no tiene flash y gastó, si no me equivoco, la última baratija que tenía. No tiene CD en ese momento para salir con la W, ni tiene ward, me parece, en ese momento tampoco para salir. O sea, no puedes meterte con Lee en un lugar si no tenés flash y otra baratija. Si no tenés visión. Si no tenés forma de salir. Lee puede entrar y salir súper fácil en un montón de lugares, pero tenés que tener las condiciones. Yo creo que Fnatic con el otro support está bien, es otra partida, es otro día, pero el otro support jugó bien, y Hylissang no está convenciendo por ahora. Como hablábamos ayer, yo no lo hubiera cambiado a Hylissang. Mientras Fnatic siguiera ganando, yo no lo hubiera cambiado al otro support, yo lo hubiera dejado. Sí, Hylissang es muy bueno, pero yo soy partidario de la mítica equipo que gana no se toca, Yo ayer ganamos, me mantengo así, porque Fnatic tiene que pelear ese primer lugar. Si Fnatic llega a perder, está bien, tiene que perder 2 para perder el primer lugar en cualquier caso. Porque si Fnatic pierde una y IG gana todas, igual pasa Fnatic primero porque le ganó el enfrentamiento directo a IG. Así que Fnatic, para no salir primero, tiene que perder 2 partidas. La veo complicada. De hecho, ahora entrando en midgame ya más avanzado, ya tirando un poco más a late, ese Aatrox, esa Kai'Sa van a empezar a pegar bastante. Kai'Sa ahora cuando saque, imagino, Infinity, va a ser bastante peligrosa en la teamfight. Y Detonation va a depender bastante de los setups y sobre todo de Evi también. Bueno, Evi lo agarran a mitad de camino. Hay tier 1 en top todavía de Fnatic. Ya les va a complicar bastante ahora. Van a tener que ir a buscar esa tier 1. O tier 3. 30 dragón. Pero no hay nadie moviéndose de Fnatic en este momento, ¿eh? Solamente Hilly-san. Ahí llega Kai'Sa. El TP de LeBlanc. Es buena ulti de Mago, ¿eh? Es muy buena ulti de Mago. CTP de Evi. Super greedy, muy adelante. Razor va a buscar MF. Llega. Llega, perfecto. Lo que decíamos recién, va a depender mucho del setup y de Evi. El setup de esta teamfight fue horrible, fue totalmente forzado. Y Evi tiró un TP súper agresivo, muy adelante. Fue deleteado instantáneamente. Ace. Ace y Baron de Fnatic. Y acaban todas las esperanzas de Japón por sacarle un punto a Fnatic, yo creo. Se redimió Hilly-san, yo creo, en esta teamfight, ¿eh? Puso una buena ulti a tiempo. El equipo se paró bien. El TP de LeBlanc, ni tarde ni pronto. El TP de Evi ahí es una locura. No podés tepear ahí. No puedes entrar de esa manera cuando tu equipo se está cayendo a pedazos. El coach se agarra la cabeza y sí. Y sí. Uno le sacó 3/4 a Trundle. Pasa que saca 4 niveles. A nivel 16. Lo que digo siempre, Humanoid tal vez no juegue la mejor lane, no sea el mejor laner, pero en las rotaciones y demás saca su ventaja. Su ventaja de nivel. Ya tiene Rabadón. Ya está un ítem por encima. 3/4 de ítem porque Víctor tiene una vara. A 3/4 de ítem encima de... O medio ítem por encima de Víctor. Digo 3/4 porque son las 2 varas y después creo que es 1100 de oro para completar el Rabadón, si mal no recuerdo. Ahí está que recién saca el Kimotanque este que no le va a servir mucho, más para escapar de la ulti. Ni siquiera para escapar una ulti porque más para chasear, pero no vas a conseguir muchos pickups en esta instancia de la partida, ¿eh? Por no decir que no vas a conseguir ninguno realmente. El minuto 27 recién se termina el ítem Alistar, ¿eh? Se quedó muy atrás. Detonation y Maokai tiene esto con la ulti que mirá cómo te divean. Yutapon, deleteado y ya está. Ya Detonation no tiene la posición para aguantar ninguna teamfight. No van a llegar a terminarla, pero... Humanoid le quiere terminar. Lee. Y sí, la terminan, ¿eh? Sí, upa, upa. Pegó la ulti de Víctor, ¿eh? Porque no fue por Lumbria, fue por... Avisales. Hilly-san. No sé si era necesario que se quedara, si el resto del equipo se podía escapar. Más un lío en el LeBlanc, ¿eh?
this is such a good call by Fnatic. There's no way that you should allow DFM to stand in this position. You have so much control over the map. You can easily get behind them, extended in this range, pin them up against the wall, obliterate Yutapon, and Yaharong is a
Y Maokai ya se jugó 3. Ya se jugó top. Se jugó jungla. Se jugó top, ¿verdad? Sí. Sí, se jugó top, se jugó jungla y se jugó support. Ya es el más piqueado en este momento. En diferentes roles. Detonation detonado, sí. Detonation está Hospitalization. Wunder. 1.40 para Dragón todavía, falta un tocazo. No hay nada para hacer. Simplemente piquear a Aatrox.
Bit of a mistake there, but still absolutely fine for Fnatic.
Yeah, there's the Banshees, by the way. Humanoid did end up getting it. Took a little death cap detour, which is a nice one there.
I'm sure after the ace in the top lane, he's sitting on like 2,500 gold, and he had a Negatron cloak already, and he's like, do I want to just finish my death cap? Or not Negatron cloak, excuse me,
no Magic Man.
Yeah, and the needlessly large rod. You're like weighing which of those completed items will make me feel better. I think everyone's selecting death cap.
Correct. Pretty good item. You can pick it up. Humanoid, another stellar game here. As also upset with 4 items. Has that one death, but that's been it. Been pretty flawless apart from that. Fnatic using Killsong's ulti really nicely as well to set up a lot of these dives. Like, yes, you could argue Detonation Focus Me just shouldn't be there in that position anyway, but Achilles had a lot of good setups.
Nadie puede... Uy, se va a salvar con muy poco, pero... Nadie puede defender una torre en este momento de Detonation. Si te agarra LeBlanc, te descose. Está a nivel 17 de LeBlanc, el único que está a nivel 17 es Víctor. Pero si lo agarra, por ejemplo, a Trando, como vimos recién, le saca 4 niveles. También tendría que estar en nivel 15 ahora mismo, igual que Lee. Pero se quedó muy atrás también. Este es Free Dragon para Fnatic. No tiene que apurarse a nada Fnatic en este momento, Tiene Dragon, puede ir a soñar Baron tranquilamente. Detonation no tiene visión prácticamente. Tiene un poco en el río la parte de bot y cerca de su red, pero no tiene visión después en los objetivos. Detonation no puede salir de la base en este momento, tiene que hacerlo así, de manera conjunta. Evi pusheando bot, puede volver con TP. Pero cualquier poke de LeBlanc es mitad de vida como mínimo. Bueno, iba a soñar ahí y se apuró para mi gusto, pero puede sacar un montón, Razork, que patea... Bueno, no hacía falta, pero funcionó. Aunque no lo pasó del otro lado. Cuidado con Evi. Pero Evi en este momento no pega nada. No puede hacer nada. Fíjense, perdió toda la vida con LeBlanc. Ya Detonation ya está detonado. Triple. Cuadra para Upset. No, triple nomás. Bueno, y se quería ir. Tipo, te estás recagando y querés terminar la partida rápido. Bueno, que estaba en eso. Ahí está, ¿ves? Se pone en barbijo y ya está. Es lo que hablábamos ayer. Apoyame acá. Ahí te agarro. Gracias. Bueno. Mientras esperamos la próxima partida. Vamos a comer algo. Vamos a jugar algo también. Vamos a jugar un Night and Merchants. Mientras tanto, bajar un poquito esto. Voy a jugar un poquito un RTS tranqui, chill para... Tenemos todo desbloqueado acá. No debería estar todo desbloqueado. Debería estar todo, debería desbloquear de a poco, pero bueno. La versión HD es la única que me funciona en modo ventana. No quería jugar a pantalla completa, la verdad.
you know, there was a couple more skill checks that they thought they could just make against their opponent. You know, you saw the initial kill by Evian Wunder, for example, where he was just greeting, trying to shove his wave under turret, whatnot. Those are things that I think going forward, it's very easy for Fnatic when you start playing, maybe in group stage or whatnot, to be like, all right, we're not going to quite go that aggressive.
Well, one of them will.
Yeah.
Everyone else
some of them still might do that. Some might pull it back a little bit, but I think they're looking incredible thus far, especially Humanoid and Upset look as good as I think I've seen them.
Yeah, no, really impressive. Obviously, Humanoid in lane has just been demolishing people. I don't expect that to...
Voy a comer un poco mientras juego, así que saco la cámara porque no tiene mucho sentido que me vean comer. Más que está un poco complicado comer esto. Así que nada, vamos a jugar un ratito hasta que empiece la próxima partida.
Mark, don't talk about schedule, don't talk about the rest of it. Just keep singing Fnatic's praises, my man. That's what I like to hear. I will say, though, the way the game ended could not have been further away from the way the game began, because it looked sketchy. The game did start in the draft. I'm going to come to you, Raz, first. Talk me through pick order. Talk me through what your surprises were. You got your Maokai, you got your Aatrox, you got them the same team.
True. So called the Aatrox for Wunder. It was nice to see it. It's a trend that we're seeing the Aatrox first pick just because 8 is a flex, though it's a fake flex. People can play it mid, though more preferable playing top lane. And we're seeing it Razork going back to the Lee Sin. So overall, what we've seen yesterday coming back, and just a good side lane composition. Put Humanoid in, I'm imagining, on side lanes alongside with Aatrox and try and play through them. I think initially it works out in my mind.
Against teams that are more likely to not be really clean on rotations, as we saw happen to DFM later in the game, I really like these skirmishy style comps where you have Lee and LeBlanc that together can apply so much pressure, can really play well around Fog. So I really like the draft from Fnatic here. I think that normally when you fall behind with the comp, you should be in trouble, which they weren't. But for DFM, I think that the comp had a lot of answers that were really easy for Fnatic, like Mercs, MR, really made their life.
So explain to me a little bit now, because as the game started out, I mean, I want to bring up the post-game breakdown graphic and look at, I want to draw everyone's attention, first of all, to the gold graph as it pans out throughout the course of the game. I mean, Hellescent conceded first blood. That's more deaths than Rux played in all of his games yesterday. The top lane, I think Wunder kind of donated kills to Ebby. You had Kennen looking good, Unicorn looking good, and it just kind of felt a little bit like DFM had possibilities, but unfortunately they weren't able to press their advantage further.
So, obviously, the big story for Fnatic, Human and Upset. For DFM, I think they look like themselves again. Them beating Fnatic was always going to be tough, but after yesterday's game, the fact that they're able to stay even with Fnatic for 20 minutes, I think that's a cool sign. But Humanoid and Upset were not going to lose this game.
But that's the thing, right? Talking about the early game, it felt like DFM had a chip on their shoulder. They really wanted to have a strong performance, especially against a team that no one expected them to do well versus, and they did. But as you can see from that gold graph, even when the kills were being ramped up for Dead Nation Focus Main, the gold wasn't really changing that.
I mean, Wunder did have a lot of CS despite the conceded. Upset wasn't in the advantage. I mean, the entire game, Humanoid was bullying, and once they hit 20 minutes, got those 2 or 3 items, that's when Fnatic took over.
That's it. And it's funny because a team that can fall behind, we see it a lot from the major region teams, that if you fall behind in a way, still, your players are good enough to keep up in CS for the most part. And then when it comes to major objectives, you're setting up for it a better.
I mean, chronically, you love this team fight with Fnatic.
No. I know you were going to do this to me, Trevor. This is exactly the core difference between most of the major region teams and why, even if the laning phase goes well, minor regions will struggle. It's because single overextensions like this can instantly be game ending, and the only team that has actually done this on major region teams is Mad, and they still won their games.
Yeah, so the team fights looked pretty bad, mostly because Fnatic at this point had already gotten the gold lead. I felt like the tides were turning off second Rift Herald, actually. Dead Nation Focus Me were setting up for second Rift Herald, but then, you know, Kennen was forced back to base. The Victor was bot lane, so they had 3 people. When Fnatic rolled up with 5, they're like, oh, I guess we're walking away from this.
I'm going to say this now, that I was disappointed with Fnatic's first 20 minutes of this game in comparison to what we saw yesterday in the first 2 games. Ultimately, it didn't really have a meaningful impact, and just like Chronicle was saying, the difference in sort of ability to play the map, team fights, decision making, Fnatic were never under threat despite it being close. The one thing I do have, we don't have a huge amount of time, that I do want to highlight, Humanoid 14, 4, and 5, plus 1,000 gold
Insane.
at 15 minutes. I mean, that is mind-boggling, Rez.
I think there's a problem with the graphic. It has an H there where he's actually just humanoid. for the 3 games we've seen, he has just been insane and a reliable place for the Fnatic team to play around.
Chronicler, final thoughts on Humanoid before we move on?
Nice, correct. Well, he was really, really good. I think that he was really the lead character for Fnatic.
I have to say, I should have won the Humanoid one, but I just, you know my memes better than I do.
There we go.
Listen to the Worlds Collide by League of Legends and Mickey Taylor. League of Legends official playlist on Spotify while we are in the break. Check out more LOL music like Worlds Collide and League of Legends on Spotify. Peace. Peace.
Behind 21 epic days of epicness. Behind 1 billion hours of drop jaws. Behind every match, every broadcast, every moment at League of Legends World Championship 2022 is the network capable of making it all happen. The Cisco Network, aka The Realm. Cisco, powering the future of esports.
welcome back to Mexico for the Verizon post-game interview here with Upset. Thank you for joining me. Welcome back to the studio. You guys were playing remotely yesterday. How does it feel to be on stage? And also, how do you reflect on the results so far? 3-0 in play-ins.
Yeah, it feels good to play on stage always. I think it's always a different experience and it makes the games kind of more hype, I think, so it's cool. Our performance so far has been quite good considering we couldn't practice so much, or not at all, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's best of ones, so it's really volatile and it can go up really well and then it can also go down fast. So we have to like really keep looking at our mistakes, especially this game. We did a lot of bad things in the early game that cost us a lot, but Marek really had an amazing game on LeBlanc, so he carried us. But yeah, I'm happy that we are winning the games, but we have to improve a lot for sure.
Anything you can tell me maybe about the mistakes you've been making in the early game today?
I think we were not on the same page in these moments. Usually when someone dies, when he's surrounded by a lot of enemies, it must mean that he had a different idea than other people in the team. Or they like caught you out because you didn't expect them to be there. So I think in the bot side river they caught like Hilly and Ivan because they did some good things as well. So yeah, we have to work on it.
Yeah, you know what's going on, so I guess you're on the path for success and everything. I mean, you said it yourself. Everything hasn't been easy for Fnatic. COVID at first, having a sub as a support, no scrims really, and then you come up on the first day of play-in, pentakill, refuses to elaborate. Tell me about your form and how it's been going so far, and how do you expect so much success given the fact that you have not been able to train the way you should have?
Yeah, I think I was still like trying to keep my individual form up, and our team I think is not, our biggest strength is not our team play ever. I think it's usually just that we are strong individually, and we have some decent team things as well, but mostly it's our individual strengths, so luckily that still translates even if you can't practice so much as a team. I was still playing solo queue when I was feeling well enough, so I felt still confident to do well myself.
I can imagine. I mean, Fnatic's gonna look like a different beast, hopefully, as the tournament goes. Upset, I have to ask, it's your first time at Worlds. I know you've been waiting for so long for this tournament. Anything you're excited about in particular for this time?
Yeah, I mean, last year was so terrible for me, everything. So now I'm just here. I'm really happy that I'm here with my wife and that we can have this experience together, and that's my first time with her. It's really amazing, and yeah, I'm just happy about that.
Enjoy the wife buff, and welcome to Worlds. Thank you so much, Upset, for the interview. And back to you guys in LA.
My name is Jojo Pion, and I'm the mid laner for Evil Geniuses. Yeah, this is my first time at Worlds. I'm really excited to be able to play, especially in NA. It feels good that the team made it to Worlds. I expected us anyways to make it to Worlds, but it was way harder than I thought. And obviously the best teams are coming here, so we'll be able to play the best team. So we'll get to learn a lot from that too, and I think we'll be able to play well. I enjoy the competition the most, just being able to compete, especially when it's like a high stake. So I would say that's the most fun thing for me. MSI was just a warm-up, now it's time for the real show.
It is time for the real show. I'm still waiting for Evil Geniuses to arrive at Worlds 2022. Hey! They're taking on Loud in just a moment, and these are two teams with very different feelings after yesterday's game. So I was looking at my analysts and I thought, who could I ask to explain to me what happened yesterday? So Raz, do break it down.
I did not know. Okay, I'm coming back, and it might be with a backhand. But anyways, yes, it was a really tough game. This is the one that it didn't really feel like Evil Geniuses had any window. But earlier on in this game, about before the 8-minute mark, there was a 1K gold lead. It was there. There was a 30 CS advantage that was presenting itself to the bot lane. The problem was the comical mistakes that were happening throughout the mid lane. The mid lane jungle synergy between Jojo and Inspired were starting to falter. They get sent back. That one was one tear that was coming down my eye. There was the other one where Renekton, of course, getting picked off. I mean, he used an ulti trying to get on top of him. I was sad on that one. It was not fine. I was not okay. Okay, get this out. I was not doing well. And then immediately after that one, Vulcan gets engaged on, gets destroyed. This was all from like 8:30 to like 10. So that 8-minute mark that I was talking about where they had a 1K gold lead. I don't want this one either. So that was sad.
Now, admittedly, the intro was particularly harsh, but I think for a team like Evil Geniuses, for a player like JoJo, who are very willing to throw down, to be outspoken, I love it. It gives us great entertainment.
Yes.
And what I really like is in the interview, after a defeat, because Fnatic members were not, on stage, not playing, what a fantastic interview. Really great discussion to have there. What do you want to see in terms of the play style? Because what we're looking at in terms of the clips is trying to look at JoJo roaming.
Yeah, JoJo, coming off of MSI, talked about how all of the legendary mid laners like Xiaohu and Faker in the interview that we had during the regular split were just amazing and selfless players. They roamed a lot. They found opportunities across the map. Guess what? We get to see the same thing from Tinoz. That's what he was really good at for Loud, finding ways to get top lane into the game. So I feel like we're going to be seeing both these mid laners try and wrestle control from each other and make impact elsewhere.
And I think it's really important as well, looking at Loud specifically, what are we going to see for brands? Because I don't want to see the Seraphine anymore. Stay away from that. Stay away from enchanters.
Yes.
Try to find something that can really enable this guy, because regardless of whether or not it actually works, because we've seen LLL is definitely a volatile team, right? Either it looks great or it looks not so great. Make sure that he has the room to actually carry.
Now, of course, for Loud, they win their last game of the day. They were defeated in the first game. As the players are setting up on stage, we have some additional time, so we can actually expand on this a little bit. I had a lot of fun with Rob's Day, with Rob up in the top lane. Pretty much did nothing game one. Game two absolutely took over. But to be fair, all of Loud really stepped up. That bounce back, the slight change up in the draft, is that momentum going to play into their favor? Because I still expect them to be the underdogs today against EG.
They're for sure the underdogs. I think they will look better based off of... I thought they had a really good read on the draft and the meta, and I think they'll continue to play picks like the Hecarim, like the Seraphine. I think the Seraphine is still a strong thing that needs to be banned against them. Sure, it might not be what you're like in Chronic.
Okay. Before we move on to the next replay, I want to talk a little bit more about Brunch. Talk to me about the player as an individual.
No, I want to talk about Seraphine, because I know that in LCS, Seraphine is this great thing. I used to be on the Seraphine hype train as well, but these games are messy. You need more firepower.
But you may not have been
Now continue. So that's point one. Point two, talk about the player.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I really wanna see from Loud in the draft give some priority over to make sure that Brands has a pick that he can pop off on that isn't a scaling enchanter that admittedly is very good in mid to late game team fight. No, I want mayhem.
Okay, when you add the personality in the player, Brands is for sure the type of person that wants to be on the Kai'Sa, that wants to be the type of person who's blowing up and not having that skill expression where.
Raz, I just think we happen to have some clips in Champions Queue.
Okay.
Let's check them out.
Let's roll the footage.
Okay, so we don't actually have his voice on this one. I was expecting it. I was expecting that.
Hey, speaker! I love you, bro. I love you, man.
Thank you. Me too. I love you too.
Yeah. It's me.
This is my favorite part.
It's me, bro. It's me, bro. It's me, caralho. Vem, porra. Vamos, caralho. Vem, porra.
Raz, are you able to translate that at all?
I don't think I want to.
Okay. What I'm seeing is a lot of passion, a lot of firepower. I'm not seeing a lot of Seraphine in the Chronicler, so I think
that's good. Yeah, that is a good thing.
And that's the angle I will agree with you on, okay? If we're talking about that kind of showmanship and that excitement that Brands wants, it's going to be on Kai'Sa, Kalista, fine. You can
so why do you want Seraphine then, Raz?
Because the big brain, wine-swiggling type connoisseur of Seraphine.
Oh, Raz, man, my man, you were just setting me up so well. Chronicler, can you get on Raz's level here? Because talking about big brain, wine, or whiskey, swilling. I've got a beautiful tweet here from Cloud9's Fudge, giving Loud credit. He says, the best team that they have scrimmed so far at Worlds. Now, not every team, or not every player and every statement that has come out has proven to be true. We've seen a few bold ones. But this is an interesting take. We've seen one day of games 8, right? So there's still a lot to be figured out. And what if Loud take down EG?
Look, I don't trust Fudge. Fudge, he is an impression farmer. Take a look at those impressions. He's the type of person in general to see, just like, he wants to see and troll people a lot. Maybe he means best as in the most fun. Maybe that's the legal terms around that.
That is such a boss, and he's basically calling Fudge a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna put words in Raz's mouth.
Chronicler, what I will say, sorry to cut you off, we do need to get to predictions, right? So let's see. Fudge thinks Loud could be one of the strongest teams. So Chronicler, I want you to start here. Let's take a look at the MasterCard fan predictions first before we jump into them. Who do you think you're going to be voting for once we see
So help me
what
God.
the fans
If the
have
fans do us dirty
said?
like this.
Fan predictions.
What?
54-45.
Where's the 45 coming in from? Oh, the Brazilian fans, of course. Look, all I'm saying, I like the passion, but reality will hit hard.
Now, I did want Chronicler's prediction first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's go. Where do you start?
I have no horse in this race. I'm just a fan of JoJo and Inspired. I
Bueno,
want to see some fire.
ya terminé de comer. Pongo la cámara de vuelta.
Who's gonna take it? Raz, tell me if
Hola.
I'm gonna assume you're gonna take it. How do they pick up the win?
Están todavía hablando un toque. Todavía no. Están hablando de predicciones. Quickshot le va a IG. No. Chronicle le va a IG. Raz le va a IG. Todos a IG. A IG Loud ahora. Hijo de puta me dejó acá un pedazo de piedra que no picó y no puedo conectar el camino. Necesito que pique esto, pero no le puedo mandar yo a que lo haga. Y estos pesados vienen de a uno a molestar. Necesito mucha piedra también. Me quedé sin piedra enseguida. También que reforcé los caminos muy pronto, pero es que empieza a pasar esto, si no. Quickshot le fue al Loud. Solo por los loles. Sí, la predicción dijo Loud que le gana a AG solo por los loles. Hay más piedra, por lo que veo. Bueno, parece que ya la partidita va a ir empezando. Vamos a guardar acá. Tengo una partida guardada no sé cuándo. No tiene pausa esto. La versión normal tiene pausa. La versión HD no tiene pausa. Qué raro. Qué raro. Bueno, lo dejamos así, después cargamos partida simplemente. A ver. A ver qué sucede con esta partida. Que Loud ya ganó una. Le ganó Detonation, si no me equivoco. Si mal no recuerdo. Y se vino bastante arriba. EG jugó mal. Jugó horrible. Prácticamente no jugó AG contra Fnatic. Jugó a depender de Inspire. De Inspire lo denegaron y se terminó la partida simplemente. Vamos a ver ahora que draftea AG. ¿Qué pasó? Se le volcó el café. Que hay una servilleta ahí, no sé. Está el Big Papa ahí atrás, controlando todo. Parece que sí, no sé qué. Lo corrieron todo, están secando ahí, se le volcó el café. Ese hermano no puede ser tan estúpido. ¿Qué onda con estos tipos? No te cuidas. Haces todo un espamento ayer para poder jugar. Y ahora vas on stage, tirás el café. Pónganse las pilas, loco.
Strongest updates I've ever received from production. Oh boy. So we have a small delay on stage. Don't panic, just a small delay. I'm freaked. Do you know why? JoJo spilled water. Very close. You identified the correct player. Inappropriate footwear.
He's wearing his Crocs.
He's wearing his Crocs.
Jojo, look at him. You can see him pulling them up.
So he was like looking at like the ref, like looking there, pointing, and I was like, oh, like maybe his audio's off.
I saw someone down near his PC. I thought they were doing something.
Yeah, me too.
It's his.
Se llegaba recién, tipo. Ahora juega Brasil. Y recién llegaba. Bueno. Vans, Taliyah Eka. Zoe.
So we just flipped him in the sport mode and he's good, yeah?
I don't think that counts.
I don't think so either. We'll have to, you know what, we'll dig deeper later.
Van para Tinons. Van directo por la partida de ayer. Como van en Jax tercero. ¿Qué pasó con el draft?
Shuffle on out for a moment. Perhaps we had a mishap. We'll find out.
So in the lobby chat, Vulcan. It was Loud who left the lobby for some reason, but Vulcan said, "Ref, they banned 2 mids."
Alguien de Loud se salió. No sé qué problema tuvo.
Oh.
And then I guess Croc replies, "You guys banned our mids monitors." So it sounds like Tinon's computer had.
Qué problemas en este Worlds, Ya en el play-in. Qué problema ya de entrada.
Yeah, Jojo's feet are gonna overheat. Tinon's monitor overheating.
We'll see what happens. Shuffle on. I will say, you know, whatever your opinion might be on Crocs, I don't necessarily have one for him just yet. Jojo's Crocs are a beautiful color.
Qué incómodo que me resulta recostarme así en la silla. Por más cómoda que sea la silla, me resulta tan incómodo. Lo mismo que cualquier asiento del cine, de micro, de lo que sea. Reclinarse así, recostarse. O sea, reclinarse un poco para atrás está bien, pero tipo acostarse, que hay sillas que llegan hasta ponerte plano completamente. Me resulta tan incómodo. Hay un mapuche detrás, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué está pasando? Creo yo, no tires ningún vaso más, por favor. Mira, le di con servilleta ahora. Qué desastre, Es que poco profesional, la verdad. Después me dicen que yo quiero que jueguen 10 de la LPL contra 10 de la LSK, ¿no? Pero la verdad que... No pueden demorar tanto para empezar un game, che. Estamos como ayer.
Again, like, if Aatrox is just floating around and top lane, which you have to think at this stage is going to be, it is just going to be as many counter picks as we can possibly find until everyone gets sick of it and starts banning it. That's how it's going to go.
That is the question of if we can break into the ban list, because right now it does feel somewhat set on bans, not 100%, but there are clearly the strong AD carries like Kalista and Draven that people are scared of.
And Caitlyn.
You have Caitlyn as well. You have some of the junglers, Graves, Hecarim, and then usually a couple like specific mid bans.
Al fin, el draft de nuevo. Mismos bans tienen que repetir. Taliyah, Eka, este era Zoe. Y este no lo llegamos a ver, creo.
Hecarim also one of the pretty common bans has snuck through in a couple games, but for the most part has been banned. Inspired.
Baneas Harvan y Lee Sin y ya está. Inspired no juega, ¿eh?
Loud lineup here for the second one. How many mids will we take away here? Will Aatrox be banned?
Sejuani.
Another pretty popular ban.
Un ban entendible.
Sejuani gone. We'll see if they stick to their word. Jojo said they were going to ban 3 mids. We'll see if there's one more coming here. Or if it's not the case. Loud in their win yesterday. Misfortune, Sejuani, Zoe, Amumu, Diego. Able to dominate DFM.
Te queda Draven, te queda Kalista.
Was a really nice bounce back game from Loud, who in their first game
Jax. No entiendo por qué el ban. ¿Por qué meterle prioridad a un ban personalizado? ¿Por qué bañarle Jax a Robo cuando realmente no influye demasiado? Pero bueno, hay un montón de picks libres, ¿eh? Kalista es uno.
Obviously, Tinoz and Robo have a lot of experience, Proc as well. But with Branson his rookie year, the fact that the finals were very close, it was a very competitive region. Loud was 4th in the regular season.
Está Aatrox libre. MF.
No, certainly looking good and likely to continue that form here. Kalista though is the first pick. Jackson, Silas both banned. Oh boy. Which leaves
Perpica Mumu.
kind of one of the common bans, although
Bueno, es un pick entendible con Kalista enfrente, ¿eh?
I was talking about all the common bans. They hit a couple of them, right, and then just threw everything else out the window. So Graves has gone through as well. We'll see if someone wants to snap that one away.
Oh yeah, Graves. I forgot about that one.
MF probablemente.
Snapped up here once again for presumably support. Don't think we'll see Croc parting that, but I guess you never know.
MF, sí.
Also going to make the appearance once again. It's the classic combination.
Curse of the sad bullet time. I think also the
AG tiene todavía Maokai.
Kalista Amumu, while it's
Aatrox.
always like super insano in lane, it does make engages in the mid to late game extremely annoying to try and deal with. Getting thrown in there, 2 Qs and an ultimate to try and land lock up the enemy
Aatrox.
team. So pulling that one away. Jojo,
Akali.
Akali, and Aatrox slaying.
Bueno.
Alright, we're playing skill early
Jojo
game
con
matchup.
Akali.
I was already going to say, like, Kalista obviously signals a big change. Champion that Kaori is
Kalista, Aatrox, Akali para AG.
very good in general. Also, you know, Brant likes the pick, so lots of good things, lots of good reasons to take Kalista early on, but this kind of looks like double
Luego puede jugar un Galio.
early game aggression here. Now going to have the Aatrox, which did sneak through, and Jojo,
Wukong,
this will be
bueno.
a combo pick for this boy.
Oh yeah,
Pick en la jungla.
all of the world
Interesante.
stars showing up for champions.
No habíamos visto Wukong todavía.
Right at the LEC MVP Niski going up against
Dao todavía puede bañar 2 junglas, ¿eh? Puede bañar Harvan y puede bañar Lee Sin.
but it is true that it is one of his best champions. Also for Kaori, he is more
O
of a
Viego.
lane dominant style player, which
Pero Viego, bueno, Harvan, porque obviamente Inspired. Y AG en este momento puede bañar Galio. Puede bañar algunos situacionales para Kali.
are still a little bit more early game and almost like, I don't know how to quite put it, but like spell based, I guess you would say, than just like the straight auto attacking
LeBlanc
fights like
era
Silver,
otra
where you're
opción.
just standing there bouncing through the entire time.
Come a long way from Civisary, as it turns out, which I could not be happy for.
Very long way since then. So either way, the point is
Dao tiene que bañar
very good for Kaori in theory, but it does
o
force
Maokai
LG to change their play
o
style from what it had been. Yep.
Lee,
And
Viego.
for Loud here, grabbing the Wukong for Croc.
They're just all in on click the ultimate button and win the team fight, it looks like.
It's definitely what they're going for. It is also his most
Leona, bueno.
summer, so obviously
No es un mal ban, pero Kalista todavía tiene muchas opciones, ¿eh?
Try and cover the Akali. J4 also getting taken away from Inspired, who hasn't picked up a jungle just yet. Does know he's
Galio.
of course, with Wukong being selected.
Entendible.
As Tino just getting absolutely targeted here by EG. They weren't kidding.
Yeah, I'm not like I can see it for the comp reasons. Your short range champions, Akali, Aatrox, and Kalista are all going to have a horrible time.
Dao todavía puede jugar Maokai y Víctor, ¿eh?
Down on top of you. But it's not like it's super Tino's champ. He did play it twice in the regular season,
Nar.
or in summer, even though it wasn't super high prio then.
Nar no
He
es
is
un
a
mal
very good
matchup.
supportive player, to be fair, but he can also play a lot of the individual carry matchups. He has a
Ornn
RNG
tampoco era un mal
Silas,
matchup.
Azir, just like everyone else from summer.
Yep, there's Nah for Robo in the top lane. Pretty standard stuff up against the Aatrox. We'll see how that plays out in the game. But certainly, I think Aatrox again. Just last time we had Aatrox, a lot of Aatrox at least. I feel like I've seen so many different Aatrox matchups that at this point I'm like, yep, I kind of roughly know how that
Maokai
goes.
support.
Hey, there's the tree. Was wondering if we'd see Maokai today.
All right,
in
so
this game.
I'm thinking support Maokai here to combo with the Kalista.
Or
wrong.
Como Kai jungla. Sí, porque a IG no le quedan muchas opciones, en la jungla, sí. Modo jungla. Taric support. Y Loud puede jugar un Victor, puede jugar... Puede arriesgarse... Sí, va a jugar Victor. Va a ir sobre seguro, pero podría arriesgarse un poco más y jugar una Vex, por ejemplo. Pero mucho más arriesgado. Victor tiene mejor potencial en este meta y todo. Bueno, dos composiciones bastante entendibles. Dos drafts bastante de la misma línea que veníamos viendo hasta ahora. Loud does have a scaling advantage, playing to some team fight prowess, all these ultimates extremely impactful on their side, as well as just having higher DPS if left to free hit as backline members, puts the onus on EG to either snowball the game to the point you just hard engage left and right, not need to worry about a clean engage, or you need to have very high execution, get these good character ultimates out, or side of Loud, you want to kite that out, kind of weather that first engage. Hay que ver qué tanta presencia puede tener ese Wukong en los primeros niveles, A ver si ese Wukong puede hacer alguna diferencia en early frente a Maokai. Vamos a ver qué pasa. It does feel like a good battle for that reason, that if you want to go in, you want to be aggressive, you want to assert your dominance, there's a lot of matchups that can make that happen. And we'll see if EG can pull it off, find their first win of Worlds in 2022. Find out in just a moment. Should be a fun one, if nothing else. Also continuing to keep my eyes on Maokai, especially in the jungle, because it looked nutty. Posing made that look good. Yeah, Posing did not make the champion look very balanced, we'll have to say. As EG and Loud, you can hear the hometown crowd very loud for Loud's win yesterday. That was unintentional, but I see I've walked into it. I imagine the fans will continue their cheering today. They've been great already with every guy in the audience being nice and loud. Continue their support here for the sake. And then we'll see a little bit of aggression. They can land that flying banish tossed over the wall. You always have to guess, is it the front of the bush or the back of the bush that you're going to throw it in? Unfortunately, Auri was not even in the bush. Jojo no va a tener una línea muy cómoda, salvo que tenga mucha presencia del jungla, pero el pick de Victor es bastante sobre seguro. Otra vez pausa, Tendría que buscar si hay alguna estadística o si de alguna forma puedo, sin volverme loco, encontrar... ¿Qué está comiendo ese Nat? Terrible hamburguesa, está comiendo un combo ahí de mostaza. Están los dos ahí morfando. Terrible. Tendría que buscar una estadística o algo de ver cuáles fueron los mundiales con más pausas y más problemas técnicos. Hasta ahora, los 2 días arrancando, está pero a full, Mira que recuerdo que en casi todos los mundiales, por no decir en todos, tuvimos varios problemas técnicos, pero hasta ahora está haciendo una cosa bastante increíble, más porque estamos en el 2022. Brance as well is someone who I think I've really enjoyed watching him in Champions Queue. He has very much fit in, even though he's learning English from the Zoomers as they go. It's very funny to see them all. ¿Qué le pasa a Vulcan? Stealing each other's language. Some of it I won't repeat. But it's really cool to see that kind of a blending of all the different metas, all the different cultures, attitudes, just all that stuff that you kind of get only at Worlds, really, where you have all these streams available, tracking the pros as well. Now champions to the next level with everyone on voice comms with each other. It's been very, very cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, don't Don't get very many international events a year. This is the biggest by far as far as number of teams coming, and even
Te haces el lío con el referee ese, te pone un soplamoco en la oreja,
tournament, plenty of teams
te pasa para el otro equipo.
playing, or maybe a little early, and has been fun to watch all interact.
Alrighty, I got a little update. All right, you heard it. The Pause Lord himself, Vulcan, is having a problem with his monitor. He said, sounds
Problema con el monitor.
similar to what Tinones might have got hit with. I'm not sure. We'll see. You can see them hovering over his shoulder. This is
Pero ahí dice activar versión de Windows. ¿Qué está pasando?
versus TSM, getting them through a tough best of 5. Now here against Loud, freezing them out. Tactical pause. No, of course, that's not actually what's happening.
Jugaba y tenía otro más con la hamburguesa ahí. Con la caja, el combo loco. Jugaba Lloyd tenía abajo el... Y son 5 horas más o menos, sí, 1 y media, ponele. 4 o 5 horas creo que hay diferencia. Depende, no sé qué parte de México están, pero...
Nosotros tenemos el horario de Neapel.
Sí, yo almorcé recién, hace rato.
Not even desire, also control, to your point. But here's what fans don't know at home. So people might have seen the trend on Twitch with the uncapped subathons.
Oh yeah, those are fun.
Yeah, as you sub, if you're not familiar, when you sub to a streamer, suddenly they have to stay live for another 30 seconds or whatever it is, and it goes up, and people donate hundreds, and then suddenly they're on for 11 days in a row, which I think Cage Rule was recently.
Yeah.
What they don't know is every time you say, stop talking, start the game, there's a secret timer, which increases the delay another 10 seconds. So Twitch chat, if you want this game to start, everyone stop talking right now. Stop typing.
¿Arranca o no arranca?
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I'm gonna watch the podcast. I'm checking
2 horas hay nomás.
seeing if that worked.
He'll check the tape.
Ah, hay mucho menos.
Twitch chat, you better
Porque Estados Unidos son 4 o 5 horas.
Now we're back. EG vs Loud, second game of the day, right on schedule. Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Not helping.
Doing my duty.
Not helping
O no.
to dispel people's potential
I don't want
Acá son 4 o 5 también.
uncapped pausathons are not for me.
That's true. That's not the entertainment.
I had to let them know of the secret text. I'm sorry if anyone is somehow believing what I just said is true. It is not. I just want to clarify that.
But that could not have worked out any better. I will say it's Gary Vulcan lining up in the 2v2 here.
Alrighty,
Tarik
so
es muy buen
Loud
pick
getting
para
their
jugar
first
con
game
Kalista,
versus a very aggressive lane.
Tarik es un pick, para mí, es de los mejores supports que hay en tema utilidad. Pasa que es tan difícil de meter muchas veces frente a otros que te dan por ahí mejor utilidad por la facilidad que tienen de incorporarse. Pero Tarik es súper completo. También hay pocos jugadores de Tarik que jueguen realmente, que sean main Tarik. Impact. Cuidado que Impact.
Alrighty, Gnar from Robo looking pretty good for him. Able to grab a bit of an advantage in that lane phase. Also has the Doran's blade and fleet footwork to stay sustained up. Both of them are going to be able to sustain quite a bit. Doran's shield for impact. Robo's most played champion in the split is Gnar. So he's
Atrox con Cometa Arcano es una posibilidad,
play on the weak side of the map.
pero
Croc, I think, to have the
depende del matchup. A mí no me parece la mejor opción.
boss side will probably be one of the more threatening matchups as more levels come in. But early, the first 3 levels before Tarek has his full kit unlocked, a little bit harder to find these ganks. So I really like Croc.
Son 4 y media ya, sí, hay 2 horitas entonces. Y estaba almorzando ahora. Qué vergüenza. De que yo almorcé hace un rato. Creo que hablábamos antes. Croc tiene que tener presencia top y mid. Sí, en Ciudad de México.
Claro, en México tenemos...
No, en Ciudad de México tenemos 2. Depende de qué parte, me parece. El tema con Atrox es que hasta, como decimos siempre, hasta que no tenga el nivel 5 en la Q y ya pueda sacar el Eclipse, por lo general Eclipse, a veces Gore Drinker también, pero... Sí, por eso. Hasta que Atrox tenga la Q nivel 5, prácticamente los trades mano a mano y demás se le complican bastante. También que no tiene ulti, obviamente, ¿no? Pero bien por Croc, que lo que tiene que hacer es meter presión en top y mid durante el early. Que Maokai es un poco más lento en ese sentido. Vulcan, cuidado. Inspire llegando súper tarde. Se van a llevar igual a la Mumu. Uno por uno, support por support. Tiró un sin maná. No tiene maná para matarlo, ¿eh?
First strike gold looking good, but Jojo actually feeling fine as far as total XP goes. Interesting. If he hits 6 early enough, he could threaten onto Tinones, but Tinones should have that timer in the back of his mind. Actually calling over Inspired as well. Good flash gravity field.
Muy buena W de Víctor. No lo van a matar, pero porque está Taric. Únicamente por eso.
I think Inspired, Vulcan showing up there actually saved him. Some very heads-up play by Vulcan. If you didn't catch it, he used his execute on the minion to get some of the healing that goes over in gold, and also reset his Q passive. So he was able to get a couple extra heals on Maokai there and make sure that Inspire was topped up and healthy to run away from that situation. Because otherwise, very dangerous. Well played by Tinones, getting that gravity field just on the edge of turret range, making Inspire take a couple extra turret shots. Yeah.
I like this from Jojo too again. Very common.
Sí, la Kali le va a molestar, pero no pasa nada. Vas a perder tiempo nomás.
Just buying a bit more time, trying to get some advantage here because it's so painful in the early levels and Victor's harassing you in range versus melee. But that's all water under the bridge. By the looks of things, it is going to be nice and even as things reset. Both mids have TP. Impact's in trouble again though. Robo really getting some mileage out of this counter pick.
Yeah, on the wrong side of the turret though.
Uf.
Jump away, has the blast out of there.
Plantita.
And he's going to be safe.
Nicely done by Robo though, pulling pressure for Inspired to show up under the top.
Está jugando bien Robo la top lane como tiene que jugar en estos primeros minutos. Impact está perdiendo un poco la paciencia en algunos trades, quedándose de más. Ahora, por ejemplo, ulteándose. Impact está queriendo devolver la agresividad, pero todavía no tiene con qué. Tiene que esperar. Tiene que farmear todo lo que pueda y tratar de no morir en top. Hasta tener la Q nivel 5. Son 2 niveles más. Nivel 8, nivel 9. Ya tenés ulti nivel 2 después. Incluso antes de que tengan la ulti nivel 2, ya teniendo la Q nivel 5 ya puedes pelear mucho mejor. Aún se va a morir, está nivel 5 además. Y MF se puede morir, se va a morir MF, Bien por Kaori, Uf, soleado.
Jojo finds the solo bolo in the mid lane, showing why it was banned against him a couple of times. And down the bot side, we were talking about Kaori being more of an early game oriented player and how the Taric
Kaori y Jojo por encima en oro, lógicamente. ¿Qué cosa? Y ya José jugó support también. Sí. Ya tiene las 3 por ahora.
Not level 6 actually. No ulti to contribute to this fight, but Lauda gonna contest here.
Vulcan has ult now, 6 himself. Support level advantage can be huge in these first Rift Herald fights.
Jojo no ulti, but level 8 pretty strong. Taking that recall, spending his gold. Impact also on a nice flank angle here.
Yeah, a lot of ults down from the 2 previous fights in mid and bot lane. It should be a situation where Loud do sack this one. Sales moving into the mid lane. Might be able to get 6 off the wave and then see if he can come back in.
Muy buen flanqueo de Impact, Buena ulti de MF igual. Mala ulti de Spire. Bien por MF, ¿eh?
Exactly what I said. They move to mid lane. They get 6 on the Amumu. The Taric ultimate is late, and so that allows
Respondió bien la bowling de Loud. La última múmula de MF. AG tuvo a Impact que flanqueó bien, pero no tenías mucho potencial para esa teamfight. La ulti de Vulcan llega tarde también. Maus que no ulteó ahí. No, también se demoró muchísimo para ultear. No fue tampoco la mejor ulti del mundo. Y Kalista quedó regalada. La ulti de Mau era cuando entraba Aatrox, ¿eh? Y a Kali tenía que haber ido por MF enseguida después de eso. El setup de AG sigue siendo bastante flojo, ¿eh? Tampoco como ayer.
Looking good here on the NAR, still up in CS very significantly. It's 25 ahead right now. Even managed to pick up the last kill with the ulti as well, making sure that I could pick up an extra.
Yeah, Robo having a great performance here in the top side. Mid lane, it's kind of going more EG's favor. You see Jojo with his big CS lead, about 20 for him, about 20 for Robo. So those kind of even out in the solo lanes. Bot lane as well with the kills that Branch just got means that those are all relatively even. The gold lead is honestly mostly topside, 1,000 in Robo's favor.
And as a result, Croc is going to move up here, take out this ward, and look to drop the Herald Blade. It's not quite as big as you might want it to be, so actually going to take the recall instead. But Impact doesn't know that, has to think that maybe there's still a Wukong in that brush.
Creo que puede aprovechar ese heraldo realmente en mid, ¿eh? En mid o en bot. No tiene flash, Robo. No tiene flash, Robo. Lo voy a ir a buscar con todo. Una mini victoria para Loud, ¿eh? Bueno, en realidad una gran victoria, porque ahí saca de 1 por 1 y ahora Heraldo en mid, como decía antes. Tirar esa torre va a quedar. No va a quedar, va a caer. Va a caer esa torre. Y se va a comer un hit en la siguiente, ¿eh? Muy bien Loud aprovechando todas las pequeñas ventajas que pueda tomar. Que es el momento de Loud en la partida. A partir del 20, si seguimos con bastante paridad, AG puede recuperarse un poco en las teamfights. Porque ya va a tener a Aatrox mejor parado. Va a tener una Kali ya con 2 ítems. Y demás. La Kalista también va a empezar a pegar mucho más con 2 ítems. Pero ahora mismo, si AG sigue cometiendo errores, lo van a ir a buscar a Robo de vuelta porque no tiene flash. Ahora sí lo van a matar. Por nada. Sí, se quedó de más. Tendría que haber dejado.
This is the JoJo show. He is basically highest in CS in the game. 2 kills for himself, lots of solo XP as well. Level 10 in the game, highest up there with impact as well. This is going to be critical.
Además, Nar dejó de sacar la Trinity para sacar cortacuras únicamente para los trades con Aatrox. Y Aatrox todavía no tiene eclipse.
His swaying game, for example, against TSM in Game 5, he has been stepping up. Back in spring, they were very vocal that their strategy was feed the Danny, feed the puppy, get him fed, a monster in late game teamfights. But that identity has had to change, and they kind of had to do it on the fly.
¿Cómo anda Ascenso? ¿Todo bien? Mirá que Loud está dando pelea, ¿eh? A ver qué pasa a partir del 20, si se mantiene todo así. A partir del 20, 20 y pico. Cuando Kalista ya tenga arco escudo y ya tenga un segundo ítem. Que veremos qué es lo que va a sacar.
Loud doing a very good job controlling Char place though. There you can see they have a fair amount in their pocket. And here, just lay it on the rotation for EG. And so Loud take the inside track. Grant meeting up with Tenno is going to be able to grab second turret of the game in their favor. Got the mid lane, got the top lane now. Opening up these side lanes. The one thing you have to worry about is that means longer lanes for Jojo to try and find chase downs. I really like the decision to go for
Gino tiene que intentar responder estas cosas que no tienen mucho sentido. Gino tendría que estar tomando más iniciativa. Sí. Tiene que haber rotado bot. Ahora mismo está intentando soñar toda la parte de Heraldo. Pero no puedes mandar a los tops si los vas a mandar bot únicamente para que no estén después en la pelea, pero ninguno de los dos tiene TP. Podrías mandar a la Kali a bot realmente y tener el Aatrox en mid. Pero ya es tarde. Aatrox está vaqueando porque Gnar ya está. Sí, porque Gnar ya está a mitad de camino. Aatrox tiene eclipse, por eso se había quedado un poco en bot para terminar el eclipse. Jojo. Se escapa. No se escapa. No se escapa. Sí se escapa, no se escapa. Sí se escapa. Sí se escapa. Qué asco la movilidad de Kali. Es un asco. Y tiene TP, cuidado que esto puede ser una win para IG, Ah, Mumu. Sí. Lástima que no había guarda adelante para que el TP fuera atrás de ellos. Pero fue buena de IG, Buena de IG, se está recuperando un poco. Está recuperando un poco de lo anterior. Tiene que llegar lo mejor posible a los segundos ítems. Tiene 3 personajes, Aatrox, Akali y Kalista, que empiezan a crecer recién con los segundos ítems. Knowing that this is a moment for him to step forward, CC up the Amumu, buy space for the rest of his team to step forward. They get those kills, they get the Rift Herald, they drag the Gold League. Gnar todavía no terminó Trinity por sacar ese cortacura para lane, básicamente. Pero ya lo debe tener, casi. Cuestión de oro. En el próximo back ya lo saca. Lo va a sacar ahora, de hecho. Vitor con Corona en lugar de Echo de Luden, que para esta partida es un poco más entendible probablemente, porque Akali te va a descoser y Aatrox y Maokai les da un poco igual el Luden. No, se puede pelear, Es el Heraldo en mid y pelear este dragón, se puede. Aatrox tiene TP, Aatrox puede pushear. También IG te digo que lo puede dejar y rushear todos mid, No es una mala posibilidad. Pero no se decidieron hacer ni una cosa ni la otra. Tardaron mucho en rushear mid. Los van a llevar hacia ahí para que flanquee Aatrox, Ulti de Mao y pueden entrar. Bien, qué bien Impact, Haciendo todo el trabajo de Akali yendo a buscar a la de carry. Lástima que se le escapó. Se le fue con nada de vida a Brands. Los overextend. Ulti de Tari, cuidado, se pueden dar vuelta. Ojo el Mega Gnar. Y la W de Victory, el Mega Gnar en esa posición. Y G tiene la idea correcta en las teamfights, como vimos recién, pero la ejecución es muy mala. Acá la idea es perfecta. Aatrox entra bien, haciendo todo el trabajo que Akali no está haciendo. Casi lo deletea. Y acá tenés 5 contra 4, pero es que realmente después de matar a Croc no hacen nada. Fíjense, van 3 por el doble de Wukong. Acá el overextend. Tenés el push en mid, no tenés necesidad de irlos a buscar acá. Acá, con MF a ese poco de vida, podés pushear mid, podés pushear ese lado, podés forzar esa torre de mid. Además Aatrox tiene TP. Me había hecho mid top. Con el TP de Aatrox tenías probablemente 2 torres. ¡Vamos, carajo!
Living barely, like he was still in that fight, peppering away. I mean, got to like 100 health. He was the big reason that fight turned, being able to contribute damage on the MF from range.
Jojo no está jugando mal, pero no está cumpliendo su función en las teamfights, Porque no me sirve nada que le meta daño a Mumu o a quien sea. Si Aatrox va a flanquear, necesitas que la Akali deletee a alguien. Que vaya, no tanto por Víctor, que vaya por MF. Ese barbijo, qué raro. ¿Qué onda? Era una nariz de cerdito. Es blanco. ¿Qué pasó ahora? Se volcó la caipirinha en el teclado ahora. ¿Qué pasó? Yo con todas las servilletas ahí. Un desastre, hermano. Desastre. No sé.
Victor, you want to kill an MF and then the fight be over, but because Gnar is so strong, he's kind of become this third threat who can clean up the tail end of fights.
Yeah, Trinity Force there for Robo, still moving into item number 2, has kind of a melange right now, but
Garage sale build.
Yep, just kind of picked up what he liked, as Jojo once again being hunted. He's trying to pick on a side laner, but Loud know this, they're trying to pick on him. As Tino's maybe going to be the bait. The tower also very attractive, looking there for Jojo to get a little bit of extra gold into his pockets, but gonna play with enough restraint.
Ese ward en mid, el ward rojo en mid, dilató completamente todo el movimiento de IG, Ya saben, Loud ya sabe que están ahí, están todos ahí. Por el ward que está en línea, ese ward en mid, ahí mismo. Que Vulcan debería haber limpiado. Los ward en lane son muy infravalorados, Después de la lane phase. El de mid es el que delató todo el movimiento de IG para top. Top va a caer. Aatrox tiene que pushear bot. Aatrox tiene que seguir bot. Pasa que no tenía visión de cuando recaló el Gnar. No sabe dónde está el Gnar en este momento. Creo que es Jojo el que va a ir bot. Está pingueando.
I love bringing that up to troll EU fans, but we are in the midst of our own potential kaboom here potentially with
Dragón en 40.
and the rest of his team are playing. He is no stranger. You know, that was back in 2014. Was that 8 years ago? I can't do math.
Yeah, that's correct.
8 years ago. He did that, and he's still one of the best players.
Tiene que aprovechar a limpiar esos wards ahí y replegarse. Impact ahora mismo puede ir a top a pushear. Tiene TP, pero se va a quedar mid. Robo tiene que ganar, pero lo tiene ahora y no lo va a tener en 10 segundos, Robo no va a tener que ganar para esta teamfight. IG puede pegar ese Mega ganar y forzar, Ese ward también que no limpiaron, están cometiendo un montón de errores en tema visión. Lau tiene mucha más información de la que IG tiene. Cayó la torre de mid con la ayuda de los minions. Robo no tiene que ganar, es el momento de forzar ahora. Es el momento de iniciar. Ya te vieron, Jojo. TP de Aatrox. Era el engage igual. Sí, tiene misión, ya saben dónde están. El engage era con la ulti de Mao Dragon y dejalo al Aatrox. Dejalo morir. Tardando tanto que ya tiene que ganar de vuelta. Bien, sacalo. Al final Aatrox no murió, se escapó bien. Perfecto. Es que esto puede ser Baron para Loud si no deciden bien,
Está bien. Dragon, chao.
Sí, pero tenés que el Aatrox tiene que recalear ya y volver. O se va a quedar y tiene que recalear la bot. No, Aatrox va a recalear. Va a recalear todos. Yo está bien porque tiene TP. Loud no va a forzar. No se va a arriesgar. Pero sí pueden soñar. Está limpiando el Wukong ahí. Mucho mejor trabajo en visión de Loud que AG, Fíjense en el mapa. Loud tiene control de mapa. Se viene un TP a bot. Voy a intentar matar a ese Narc, que tiene TP además. Pero cuidado, está Víctor, Muere. Está Kalista. Se cura un montón el Aatrox ya a esta altura. Bien. Bien por Kalista, que llegó con lo justo. Muy buen pickup de AG, Maokai, es que a Maokai armaba tanque igual pega una barbaridad. Para que no se resete el Baron. Sí. Aatrox lo va a ir a buscar. Bueno, de que hablábamos antes. A partir del 20, 22, 20 largos, AG tiene mucho más potencial. Aatrox 2 ítems, Kalista 2 ítems. Ya tiene mejor potencial para pelear. Acá tomaron una buena decisión al fin. Terminan piqueando a Robo. Tyrants que decide meterse, que no es una mala decisión del todo, pero no contaban con que estaba Kalista ahí. Y Aatrox ya tiene 2 ítems, se cubre una barbaridad. Sí. Y no tenés forma de letearlo al Aatrox en esa composición, salvo que los tunees con la ulti de Nar y le metas la ulti de MF. No tenés forma de letearlo. Víctor y Wukong le pueden hacer mucho daño, pero se va a curar. No lo van a poder deletear.
MVP of the last little exchange, you have to think, as EG with this Baron on the Red Bull Baron power play are trying to really get this game done. It has been back and forth, but they broke it open in a very unconventional way, and EG are trying to punish as hard as they can.
Yeah, they need to get as much of a gold lead as possible. It's only 2,000 right now, so if you're not able to extend this much further, yeah, that was a really cool play that you just pulled off, but if you're heading into the next couple Dragons with only a 2,000 gold lead with these comps, it's definitely not put Loud in the dirt quite yet, so they're going to try and grab these last two inner turrets, most likely working down this bot side one right now. Impact taking a 1v1 versus Robo, but even with Baron, it's a tough fight.
Yeah, has not been particularly well. Oh, Robo's just
Tiene ulti Impact igual, Tiene ulti, no va a morir. Ahora no va a morir tan fácil. Al principio de la partida otra historia, pero ahora, ya con 2 ítems, no va a morir nada fácil. Y si saca Sterak ahora mismo, Aatrox ya está bastante imbajable. Nar se va a escapar, pero no tiene flash, igual, pero se va a escapar con el portal. Está jugando bien Loud igualmente, tiene un grupo más accesible que Isurus obviamente, pero dentro de todo ha jugado bien Loud las 2 partidas que jugó. Pasa que sus rivales también jugaron bastante mal. Detonation ayer jugó horrible. AG ahora en mitad de la partida empieza a entender un poco más su posición y empieza a aprovecharlo un poco mejor, pero igual sí, ganarlo lo ignoro completamente. Al pedo ir a buscarlo ahora, Tienes dragón. Ya con Amumu muerto se les cae mitad de engage. Además no va a tener Mega ganar ahora mismo. Se termina el Mega ganar. Ya pasó el Baron también.
Not finding an angle, they're going to have to back away. Remember, Loud have a lot of ultis at the ready.
Yeah, they did just use Taric, Kalista, basically every ult but Impact. Correct.
Dragón de AG y Jojo fue a buscar a la Mumu, que no llegue nunca esa Mumu. Mao tiene ulti de nuevo, le va a tener que nerfear la ulti bastante fuerte. El CD de la ulti y de la E es muy poco. Tiene flash igual el Mao. Bien, bien. Buen re-engage. Buen re-engage de AG, Es Kalista y Aatrox. Es la teamfight de AG. Es Kalista y Aatrox. Son todo el daño de... Akali cayó muy rápido. Y Aatrox ya tepeó top, va a pushear, va a ser algo útil por el equipo porque los demás van a perseguir un poco a Robo hasta matarlo y se van a ir a base. El fake check sin sentido porque prever esperado.
Jojo going in, kind of ahead of the rest of his team. It's very dicey without the Kalista or Taric ultimates trying to team fight those. Those are critical, but he gets enough chunk.
Me sorprende cómo ignoraron a Kalista completamente después de esto. Flasheó al pit y Víctor, nada, tiró la E corriendo para atrás. Y después se lo comió el Aatrox.
Feeling very good now, up to a 6,000 gold lead, 2 Hextech Dragons in their back pocket. Baron coming up in 30 seconds with complete control of the map for the side of EG. Quietly, we've been talking about Jojo too much. Yeah, after that fight, you have 7 kills for Kaori and inspired on tanks. I don't know how he does it. When it's like a tank Vi, when it's Sejuani solo killing like a 6-item, I forget what he fought, but he got a solo kill in playoffs this way. Here he is again, 6-1-8, full tank Maokai, just obliterating people.
Double stopwatch as well for the EG solo laners, so setting up very nicely for the next encounter, likely around the Baron, as you alluded to, as it does now spawn. But yes, there is something about Inspired, and also I think just something about the tree. Seems pretty good in the sample size we've gotten already.
I can see how in scrims you might not be blown away by the early game of the Maokai beyond just being a really annoying chain ganker. But the utility he has brought in mid to late game with this sapling spam, with the ult zone control, the fact that it's not that long in cooldown. You saw Inspired's ult was the first one back up from EG there, critically allowed them to take that team fight. I think you'll see this priority go up a lot over the course of this tournament.
I think so too, and here we go again. It is Kalista lining up the Baron, getting all the spears in. Kaori, 4 items now. If my eyes didn't trick me, I only saw the scoreboard briefly, but EG are going for a Loud. No, they have to find the fight.
No hay Mega ganar.
Jojo looking for the angle, maybe going to delay this take on the Baron.
Sin esperar a que Jojo dé la vuelta. Pero ahí no tendría que haber seguido, Era la ulti de Mao y terminar el Baron, Podrían haber terminado el Baron con la ulti de Mao. No tenía mucho sentido dejarlo y chasear porque no iban a llegar.
Inspired has marked him with the Anathemas chain, kind of identifying that even though the Victor is 1, 3, and 6 at 3 items, he is realistically slightly scarier than the MF. If MF drops her full ultimate, yes, that's dangerous. But outside of that window, the Victor is the bigger threat over the course of it, so I can understand them going for him as the priority. But like we said, no crown shattered, then you don't want to go for it.
I feel like there's also enough dive where like Brance has to contend with like autoing an Akali that's jumping on him, right? Like can't necessarily just sit there trying to ball time and expect things to go well unless you find an absolutely incredible position in Fog over the wall. Whereas Tinons, you know, got a little mage bruiser.
Sabe que IG igual le sirve bastante tirar un poco al late, pero también te la estás jugando a cometer un error en una teamfight y perderla. No están del todo claros. IG podría haber cerrado la partida con ese Baron, podría haber metido a Lau dentro de la base. Sin embargo, va a esperar al dragón. IG sigue jugando con miedo de equivocarse, ¿eh? Buen engage de Akali con el stun de Taric. Por fin llegó a MF. La primera vez que la Akali llega claro a MF y se termina la teamfight. Bueno, encontraron el punto en el momento adecuado para cerrar la partida. Bueno, IG, como dijimos que tenía que hacer, aguantar un poco el early, esperar, no perder demasiada ventaja temprana y en midgame empezar a explotar su composición, sus mejores picks y demás. Así que hizo la tarea IG, pero cuidado que igual deja algunas dudas en cuanto a los setups, en cuanto al rendimiento. Se equivocó bastante también. Ganó IG, pero no sé si gustó, ¿eh? Simplemente ganó, hizo las cosas bien en el momento que tenía que hacerlo. Pero hasta ahí, ¿eh? No le sobra nada a IG en este momento. Bueno, sí le sobra esas camisetas horribles que tienen, pero bueno. Qué feo que son las camisetas, por Dios. No me gustan nada. Bueno, ahora vengo.
Like the latter half of the game looks like, okay, I get what the comp's trying to do now. You got your lead, you're finding like finding your groove, your styling, you know, you're getting engaged as you need. To get to that point was an absolute celebration of League of Legends in the mid game.
That is a great way to put it. It's a celebration. It did at least play to, I think, EG's strength. You talk about their team fighting a lot in North America. This time coming through with what is completely a team fight ball comp that wants to be playing from ahead. They didn't have to do it. Made it a little bit harder to get into that lead, but they did pull it off. And then in the late game, you could see how well they could coordinate with the Maokai ultimates, the Taric stuns, the Kalista coming through as well, even when Jojo Pyun was popped, showing that they have a couple threats that people are going to have to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think Vulcan calibrating as well in the later parts of that game, syncing up the ults more, getting the stuns on. Obviously easier when you're playing from ahead. But that first ult did look a little loose out of Vulcan, but I think the whole team tightening up and once again, eyes on Maokai and Inspired. Somehow getting, I think, 7 kills on
Carry
tanks.
Maokai in the jungle with full tank build. There you go.
Pretty good, as it turns out. So we're now going to hand it over to the State Farm Analyst Test to break down this game.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time and Mark. A tentative, nerve-wracking start to the game. A lot of trading back and forth. We've got a number of replays to work through, but as we always do, let's talk about the draft, talk about the pick order. Chronicler, what did you make of this? And did you favor one particular draft prior to seeing the game playing out?
I think EG went for a little bit of a hand stiff draft, which in the end worked out, but the early game obviously not great. For Loud, when you're against an opponent that you perceive as stronger, which I think in this situation you should, even though, as we saw, they were definitely able to challenge EG. Going for a composition that kind of plays itself, that has very clear win conditions, I think is always a good call.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just like Amumu ulti on top of MF ulti, like
So
Wukong. If you were getting the initial position, it should be a winning fight for you.
Chronicler, if I understand correctly, when you say hand different, the interpretation that I'm taking is that it comes down to mechanical execution, decision making. So as long as EG play their champions correctly, they can win, right? But it's high difficulty of execution.
Yeah, for sure. Because the problem with the Loud comp is that if you're not actually 5v5ing or you're caught off guard and someone gets picked off, there's not a lot that you can do about that. You really need to keep good track of your opponent and make sure you actually hit 5v5s.
Yeah, and one thing I really love is that Evil Geniuses is playing towards Kaori, who is, of course, the new addition to their team under tough circumstances. And he got that Kalista. They played towards him early. He was really vibing with the pressure coming in from Inspired. So when I saw the early game, quick shot, I was happy. I felt like,
you were happy?
Feeling good. Early game. Look at this.
Okay,
What's
okay.
there not to be happy about?
Okay, so the first few minutes, but now by this point,
then JoJo pops off.
But now hang on. By this point of the game, we're what, 7, 8 minutes in. We're going to get to another fight at 60 minutes. Loud had the gold lead. Loud had the kill lead. This was the team fight that made me feel like you'd be happy, but surely you were a little nervous that Loud were in an advantageous position.
Yes, there was a lot of that point in the game where Loud was really performing well, and the early gank that they had, dive, top lane, on impact, really damaging. But this was huge because all of the resources, the Amumu pressure that they had, was on towards the Akali. Akali TP's right back into the fight. They actually lost their positioning on Rift Herald, which gave Evil Geniuses an opening. And so I saw that team fight. It looked great. It didn't stay for long, and that's where I'm concerned about. So now I know what you're feeling when Fnatic was Mad Lions.
I'm actually so glad you brought that up because I was going to draw a parallel. I think the opening 20 minutes of gameplay, you know, Fnatic in game 1, EG in this one, is closer than you would have anticipated.
Yeah.
And I will be honest, I wasn't as comfortable thinking that EG was going to bring it back like Fnatic could, because Chronicler, this next replay we have, I mean, Impact EG ultimately just overchase.
Impact in general didn't have a very good game, and I kind of want to bring this back to a very consistent theme, and that we see more and more the more matches we see between minor regions and major regions. And even LCK teams suffer from this, even LPL teams do, where post-laning phase, you can really start to see the difference. But in mid-game, if you make big mistakes, like these teams, like this, like just overchasing here into an MF ultimate, getting taken down, and then really trying to hard force when there's already an objective to play for. Obviously, at this point, it's kind of like after the chase, you can't get out of it anymore, so you might as well try to flip it, as they do here. But the fact that they overchased the way that they did in the first place are mistakes that against better teams is gonna really cost you.
Exactly. Which is why it's good to learn here while taking a win. So you don't.
That's the important part. They got the win. They got the win.
They got the win. And so, exactly, really important, because they saw those 2 Qs on top of Bronze, and they're like, oh, perfect, we win the fight. But then you're walking into a choke point, as you had mentioned, into Misfortune-y, into the Victor ultimate. You're just chasing forever into what is, you know, a really good circumstances for Loud. So
now, Rez,
definitely worried.
By this point in the game, from my perception, it was like there was a moment Loud were in the lead, there was a moment EG were in the lead, there was a moment that like Loud would throw a big team fight, there was a moment EG would throw a big team fight. The moment that the game was locked, in my mind, is this Baron throw. And I do think something Chronicler was mentioning in terms of like the difficulty to execute the comp. Rez, talk me through this play, how it got set up, and then ultimately how EG secured the Baron.
So it's the amount of permutations that become available on the map, right? Once you need to start playing the map and macro and very split-second decisions become much more impactful, that's where you really see the gap between major and minor regions. And I like the initial thought here from Loud to say they're making a heavy bot-side focused play, we're going to try and do Baron. But as was mentioned very nicely by the casters, they don't actually have any damage on Baron. Because you have, like, you just don't have the setup. If this is a Kai'Sa, then maybe you get away with it, but you don't.
That's the most Giga Chad Tarek move right there. Ulti, because yes, as you mentioned, a lot of damage being taken from the Baron objective itself. And so it was easy for Evil Geniuses to slow them down and just wait for time. The most important thing was the fact that they were keeping aggro on Baron, knowing that it's a guarantee for them. And so, hey, if Maokai left the Baron, just go elsewhere and to confirm a kill, then Aatrox is there for it. So I thought it was good hindsight, I guess, good foresight, I mean, to be able to still net the Baron and recognize a mistake from Loud.
Now, Raz, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you were to nominate your 1+ OP player of the game, who would it be?
Oh my goodness. It kind of has to be the Maokai. Kind of has to be.
Tell me why.
Okay. Inspired this game, I felt like set the tone. Even during the mistakes, I felt like he cut losses really well. And then during the big plays, during the big moments like you have just seen, he's the one I felt like
Ahora vengo, muchachos.
You got 2 kills bot side. I'm going to confirm kills towards the Baron while at the same time keeping Baron aggro. I felt like even during the bad moments, Inspired was still performing.
And what we also saw is the versatility of Maokai, because yesterday in the DRX RNG game, it was a really vision-oriented pick. Here you just saw the raw team fighting power and the initiation possibilities, and kind of locking you out if you're in a bad position.
An argument could be made that in terms of how it was used in the jungle yesterday, the Korean-style Maokai jungle versus, let's say, the more aggressive style Uninspired today.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like against the LPL, their vision denial is going to be really strong.
Yes,
It was a close round for me, I will say. Kaori had an amazing game, but very much enabled by the Maokai
Now,
ganks as well.
Chronicler, I'm going to come to you for final thoughts here as we take a look. I think the gold graph, and you can see that gold lead, plus 3.5k at 20 minutes is significant for Loud. Your closing thoughts for this match that EG ultimately won, Chronicler?
I'm going to go back to what I've been saying, which as much as I like the individual play of LLL, and I think that Loud drafted a great composition, which this is the type of style I'd always want to try when you're playing as a team that you perceive as stronger. When it comes to actually knowing which objectives calls you can make, how you can trade cross map, as long as you don't get completely boomed in lane, major regions should always have the edge.
I mean, we saw it play out. I think it was a little bit more tentative, but both games today, Fnatic and EG respectively, fell behind early, and they had to bounce back. They ultimately did pick up those wins, and we are headed to a break. On the other side, we'll hear from EG's Inspired after their win. And before we set up Game 3 of the day between Saigon Buffalo and Isras Gaming, pastry time. Raise Mark Ruffalo's, I think it. Raise the Ruffalo to help the Buffalo. Just cut. Go. We're done.
Welcome back to BSI. For the Verizon post-game interview, here joining me right now is Inspired. Congrats on the W today. I have a question. There was a delay in Champ Select because of wardrobe violation, and I know that usually you like to wear Crocs on stage, so is there anything to do with that?
Yeah, basically Riot forbid us wearing Crocs on stage. They said that we can either play with shoes or without shoes, but not with Crocs. I don't know what's the rule there, but we have to follow it, and Jojo was obviously with Crocs on stage, and then a Riot referee came there with a pair of shoes and was like, wear this. So yeah, that was a bit annoying, but I guess that's the rules. I don't know. Pretty weird rule if you ask me.
Kind of weird, but you know what? Next time you just flex it and go barefoot on stage. I guess it could be fun.
Yeah.
All right, a bit more about the game. You played Maokai today, and we've seen this big triple flex so far. So I'm interested in knowing how much of a priority you think it's going to have in the jungle, and how do you rate the champion right now?
I think the champion is pretty strong if you go to team fights, especially if enemy have comp that don't have much shielding and healing power. Like enemy comp in this game had legit 0 shield, 0 healing. So when it comes to Drakes that had like 11k health in the starting from the third one, your E will do a lot of poke, and also your ult is like very good zone control to like walk up when the objective is very low. So I think that's like very good part about the Maokai, but I think his early game is pretty weak. Like if you play against something like Graves or something strong, then they might invade you, might get a bit of a lead. But this game, enemy team picked like scaling mid laner Victor, they picked Wukong, which is pretty slow early game. Then it's like pretty free game for Maokai.
Not the best clear maybe, but do you think it's going to become one of the top picks maybe? I don't know how the jungle is going to look like.
I think so. I would be a bit scared picking those champs against Chinese teams because they are really aggressive. So maybe I will not be able to scale up. But I think against everyone else, it's probably pretty strong champion.
That was a nice tree gameplay, nonetheless. A bit more, some words about Loud. They've been playing well, honestly. Give you a bit of a hard time in that game. Do you think they can create a surprise in your group?
Yeah, I mean, I was already surprised yesterday when they beat DFM. I didn't expect them to, and they played pretty well. And today, I think they did decently, but I think the game became very hard for us on the Rift when we lost the fight, which I think we got very overexcited because we could have just kept hitting Rift, and when enemies tried to walk up, then we just press Maokai ult, I flash on someone, and we engage the fight. But instead, we like overforced the fight really hard, and they got pretty big lead off of that. And after that, I think they were just not careful enough. I think they just took very aggressive plays, and it didn't pay off for them. Like going bot really hard, TPing there with Victor, then starting Nash's free. I think that was probably they just didn't know what to do in the certain spots, so they kind of threw the game. But I think they had very good positions, so I think they are not as bad as I thought they might be.
You still managed to take advantage of their weaknesses. Okay, time for feedback about your mid laner, because I know you like to give some strong words about Jojo.
Yeah.
How did he do today?
I think he did pretty well. I mean, he got his one of his best champions, Akali. He really likes to play it, so he was very hyped after the champion select. And in game, he even got the solo kill, right? I think he did. I think he got the solo kill. I think on Rift Herald, he was the one like calling to go really hard because Victor has no flash. I think he could have been a little bit more patient and we would win the game there. But other than that, I think he played very well. He was doing a lot of damage in fights and doing what he's supposed to do.
Team effort. You all played well today, and you're coming back at Worlds this year in a different region as the MVP once again of a summer MVP of a different region as well. How much different are you as a player this time, though?
So much different. I don't know. I think I'm more mature maybe than I was before, and I have like a lot of like. I know how it is to play at Worlds now. I know that every team is beatable in official games because I feel like the worst teams are usually better on stage and the best teams are usually a little bit worse. So I mean, it's not like they are worse, but the gap is like closing when it comes to official games. So even if you lose some games in scrims to the best teams, if you perform well on stage, you can still like make a competitive game. So now I'm, I guess, more like. I try to tell it to my team that even if we don't perform too well, it will all come down to like important games that we'll need to perform in, and we can always win against anyone.
What a leader needs to be. Always nice to talk to you. Inspired. Looking forward to see how far you can go this time around at Worlds. And that's all for us here. Back to you guys in LA.
Welcome back to Worlds 2022. Coming up, we have the hometown heroes of Isurus facing off against the Buffaloes from the VCS. It always makes me happy to see Law interviewing Inspired, and it just brings me joy. Every single member of EG give the best interviews. I think this is just a fact. Now, because we are turning our attention to the Saigon Buffaloes, I do think we need to bring our attention up. So let's bring the pace, let's bring the intensity. Red, why are we watching this clip?
Heaven or Grell, you live by him or you die by him, and it feels like what he was able to do in this game versus Mad Lion Lions is pick off Nisqy. I felt like it was a big positive for him. He did it in the bot side of the map, was able to do it in the top side as well here and catching him off guard. So I was like, damn, Grell is really carrying the team this game just based off of these picks when Nisqy is either getting a ward off or is trying to rotate mid. But then there's the other side of the coin where this is actually when they see the entire team rotating off mid lane, but he thinks he can get another pop off of Taliyah.
But Raz, if it's Heaven or Grell, his name's Grell. Like this is worrying. This is scary, right?
It is scary.
Oh my
but
word.
He is the type of person that will look for a play and act on it. And hey, Isurus can make use of it. They can actually turn that aggression into something beautiful.
Are Isurus going to be able to keep up the pace with Buffalo today? Are you going to be able to keep up the pace with us?
I'm going to go with the Buffaloes, of course. This team is... If you think... Normally, my advice to playing teams generally, try to create chaos. And maybe your opponent doesn't do that well. But if there's a team that thrives, well, you don't have to, because Buffalo will do it, and they will do a better job than you, right? And that's why I think this team is so fun to watch. I don't think Froggy necessarily played a great game as Zach, but it didn't matter. Like, the fact that they could flex that.
You're flaming his Zach mid, that's greater win-loss ratio than Faker? Froggy greater than Faker.
Typical LCK analyst.
Zach. I mean, it's just look at this. Okay, so
what am I going to do? What am I going to say to that? What am I going to say to that?
Percentage chances that Isurus win. How much of the underdog? Give me percentages. Quick. We're in draft.
30.
30?
0.
Sorry, Moxie, Patient, take it away.
All right, we're back. We're coming in real hot here, Moxie. Oh, yeah, you just dropped the 0 bomb and then just leave. No explanation. I got to say, I don't think it's a 0% chance for either of these teams.
No.
Isurus, got to remember, kind of scrappy game versus Mad Lions. They did have, they showed Grell having some pop-off moments. Mad did end up never really being in a position where they might lose that game, but it at least was closer than I think people were initially expecting. Saigon, they had an interesting draft with the Majin Buu mid, and it didn't do anything too incredible, but they still won that game. So I think at least it speaks to them winning on what was a questionable draft to a lot of people, not looking their absolute best, I think. It does make this game feel pretty unknown to me. Like, did Saigon... Are they going for cheese stuff because they don't feel like they're playing well, or exactly what it is that inspired the Zach pick there? What's the angle exactly?
My second favorite DBZ villain. Good one though. By the way, draft is thoroughly underway, so we'll recap nice and swiftly for you. Pantheon, Sylas, Seraphine, Azir, Graves, Sidwani, because for some reason I read the bands right to left. Don't worry about it.
You threw me when you said Pantheon first. I was like,
what a surprise! And then Kalista Hecarim, once again Hecarim. This time in the hands of Grell, who played against it. Elyoya had it in that game against Mad Lions. And then it's Aphelios and Poppy. I think her first appearance actually in play. She's been banned quite a lot.
I feel like we had one Poppy.
Oh, we did? Oh, we did. No, we did.
We had one Poppy.
I heard Trevor say Poppycock, but you are correct.
I think it was the DFM game. Anyways, it has not been high priority compared to what it was heading in through summer playoffs. It was basically 1-2 with Trundle, dropped off a little bit, but still provides good line. Hey, what am I watching?
Jerkson, is that you?
Cloud9? All right, Hecarim Zilean. So, I will say, it is a strong combination. If you have not watched North America, at least I know plays this combo a lot, or things that are like carry jungler plus Zilean. The speed-ups are incredible. The double bombs that you can throw on top of your frontliner as he jumps in, giving him this kind of extra damage, the speed boost, the res if he gets focused down. That is often what makes this combination so strong, Zilean plus carry jungler. Lane phase can be a little tough, and blinding it is dangerous, but doing it on the third slot allows bans to potentially come through, but instead they're actually getting rid of supports. Making sure that they have some defensive options not available. I guess that makes sense. Right now you are pretty, with Kalista and Shadow Wild combination.
Yes.
Hecarim, you are very much about trying to kill somebody diving in.
Yeah, Tom also obviously decent with Aphelios, also pretty good against Zilean. At least Devour has a lot of potential power, so even though it's moved to an ulti, maybe just something they just don't want to deal with. And I do generally support targeting Shogun and Taki. They are a menace.
They're very good.
2v2. They, I believe, are 100% on first blood so far throughout the tournament. It's only one game, so small sample size, but we keep track.
100%, 1-0. But this whole team is very young. If you don't remember, these guys were the representatives of the BCS at MSI.
Correct.
When Gam was preparing. Yeah, they were
unable to attend, had a prior engagement, games.
Yes, so they showed up. They got a lot of experience there. Very young, very scrappy. They pick a lot of crazy things like you kind of saw yesterday with the Zach mid, but very much a hands team. They want to fight. They want to fight often early.
made it back as well in basically the same spot. Second to Gam, losing to them 3-0 in the finals.
But did beat them once in the upper bracket.
There we go.
Which was actually pretty surprising. It was a full 5-game series that they were able to grab that one. So it does speak to potentially some growth in summer for them.
We'll see if they can bring it here on the world stage once again as we are throwing it all the way back.
Alrighty.
Set in the mix there for Isrus.
This is a lot of first-time champions for summer for them at least. No set for ADD. No Zilean for Seiya. But obviously, very experienced players have undoubtedly put a fair number of these games on these champions, and just kind of going for more dive with that set as well, being able to ult, some frontline back. You grab the Poppy and slam dunk him onto a Felios or Victor.
Okay, just click on every champion possible.
Try and get through all 100, whatever.
That's some good hands. You can click through all of them. That's a lot of champions.
Actually, with the client? Never mind.
All right.
Not going to go there.
Back it up, Strush. Take away some of the Shadow Isle power away from Isrus. I am sad to see... Oh, no, Renata instead going to pair up with the Aphelios.
Okay, makes some sense. Renata Kalista had been one of the main combinations that Kalista was played with throughout summer. We'll see if they still want to use that one, or would have gone for that one. It's a bit of a takeaway, but also for how short range Isrus is, even though, like, it's not, sometimes you do it into champions that have insane auto attack, like you put it on a Vayne and she 3 taps for support or something like that, if you're able to land the Renata ult. You don't quite have that power on Isrus' side, but they are short range, so if you can land that big hostile takeover, make everyone start hitting each other. As we see Zilean's support, is that the Flex Arena I smell coming in?
Hang on a second.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. Okay.
Okay.
It could have been set, but there's no way it's Zilean top. So it is indeed Zilean support.
This is Zilean support. Maybe LeBlanc support with the chains. Who knows? I doubt it, though. One thing I'd say is that when I was taking my notes for Isrus, is I eventually just stopped trying to write all the champions that they play and just said lots of one.
Lots of one.
This is 100% up their alley. Okay, set support.
Oh, we're doing it.
Top. It is
actually. We're doing it. Let's go, ADD.
Okay, so was he the one doing it? Someone was telling me in Champions Queue someone was doing Zilean top. It might have been him, actually.
Dude, he's like Teemo into Aatrox, so that was what I was hoping for.
Someone was telling me that they were doing that kind of old Zilean top cheesy where you go like Spell Thieves type thing and call and you just go like...
Oh!
I don't know exactly what it'll have to do with this.
Okay,
we'll keep an eye on it.
Zilean top, Big Pog.
Zilean top, Big Pog, set support, also Pog. This kind of matches the identity of Isrus. They are willing to take weird champions, slam them all over into the roles. They've played huge amount of champions across summer, more than most teams at Worlds. And so this is something you always have for them. One, it's exciting. Two, it's an X factor to try and prepare your draft for. I don't think anyone's prep had this coming at them. So very surprising. See if they can pilot this comp. It should be pretty difficult. Like in theory, it's you dive in and that's great, but set going in, Hecarim going in, combo with the Zilean ultimate, make sure you're rezzing the right target. You're not pulling him out of Kalista. Sometimes it happens if the support with Kalista is getting the res, but then you pull him out, you're like, oh, that was a waste. And you do have to have good communication to make sure your engages are clean.
I mean, I expected some wildness in draft. Saigon Buffalo actually looking very steady.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be double crazy drafts, and then they're like, nah, let's go front to back.
All right, well, as a reminder, link your league account with Prime Gaming if you would like to receive some free stuff. Feels pretty good. If you're a primer out there, I know there's a bunch of you in the chat.
I heard drops were good yesterday. I don't know.
Yeah?
I saw a lot of people tweet about like, hey, getting a lot
of
long
day. That makes sense.
That's why we really appreciate the pauses. There we go. One thing that is a little different about the top Zilean versus the mid Zilean is it doesn't give you quite that 2v2 power that you sometimes see. When it's like Zilean Olaf, Zilean Xin, Zilean Hecarim, these kinds of things where you are able to speed him up and get him across the map, making plays happen, getting Skeletron control even on just for movement. Top lane is just by nature a more isolated lane, and so it doesn't quite play the exact same way, but I'm sure by the time you're grouping up as team fights, it will go the same way. Zilean, first strike, yeah, this is exactly what I thought. It's kind of like this gold collector. He's not going Cull yet, does start actually with D-Ring, but yeah, this is 100% makes sense in the matchup. Melee into range, you have that kind of ability to proc first strike at will as long as you're not getting tippered. Osmid, though, starting to land on the right side. First strike, proc, oh, they cut away.
All right, 2v2 because we got more issues potentially there. Jelly actually just popped Ignite already. Going for it at the level 1 here. Takshi's in trouble, you better Black. But Gabono in trouble as well. Strogon, flush it in! 2 for 2, baby! That's first blood again for the Saigon Buffalo bot lane, and it might be second blood as well. Jelly trying to fight his way out, but he's painted into a corner. Flash is there. He fights his way out and gets the kill, though. It's carnage in the bottom.
Oh, I saw that one coming when they stacked on top of each other. I knew the Eon set would be coming back available. He had his flash the whole time, so ends up being a trade still in favor of Saigon Buffalo. First off, hold on, we're not done yet.
Froggy in trouble, has to flash out of the way. Oh, beautiful pullback there. That's an easy kill. Saya getting set up by Grell.
You can hear the crowd getting into it. The early action gank mid from Grell coming from top lane. Nice 2v2, or excuse me, 2v1 in the mid lane gank early. Here, Jelly, really good job of hitting Taki and then running into a position to get the stun using the creep that leashed onto him there to actually make sure they lock up the Renata. And here, just a little bit off the damage on the E-Ren there, meaning Taki doesn't drop. Shogun would have gotten the trade kill back anyways. And fortunately for Jelly, able to play this one well enough that when the range... Oh, I don't have to talk about anything.
Oh, BJ, hello. You're in a very interesting situation. Yeets on out of their phase rush. Giving him the boost with the flash to get on out of there.
Yeah, managed to flash the wall before the Hecarim E came through. So Hecarim's E is always a funny coded ability. Once the dash starts, you will take that knockback no matter what, but it is delayed until you actually get the distance close, so you can flash out of it and still get kind of pushed around. As we see maybe a moment to talk about this game.
Love to hear the crowd already cheering, chanting, whatever's going on. They love it. Isra is up 2-1 early on. Sett, by the way, did receive a buff among many champions.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness, that W.
That handshake lining up the true damage on the Haymaker, actually landing onto Taki because of that one. I was trying to say that for Saigon, at least the bot lane is going in their favor. The scaling matchup of Renata and Aphelios. The fact that you got the first blood onto the Aphelios was going to be advantageous. The fact that you stayed in the lane, got the extra XP, that's much better. But you think Isra is just going to let them lane bot lane? No way. No way.
Absolutely not. As I was saying, the buff from memory was actually Facebreaker's slow getting buffed. So if you don't get a stun, if you can't pull two people in or a person in a creep, you are a little bit better, which does kind of just increase the fire rate, I suppose, for Sett E. But obviously, Jelly been very accurate so far. And where possible, you do want to get maximum value out of Facebreaker. Speaking of value, down the bottom side again, Jelly finds the stun, but Gavoto in trouble again. Jelly with a W, just fighting his way out of there. It's going to go down to Shogun, though. And Taki is looking for the kill, but Gavoto is going to play back.
Yeah, the scrappiness in the bot lane, playing the 2v2 better. You could see the power of the Kalista and Sett. If they hadn't gotten such a good chunk onto Gavoto early on, he might have been able to get that little bit of extra damage in there and finish off Shogun, but it was too low to really contribute. Means that Jelly kind of gave his life up to make that play happen. That death down the bottom side, they might know there's a ward that just spotted out Grell, so you have BJ knowing that he's safe up here to take these away, put a little bit of pressure on JDD.
Might even have a bit more, but probably not, given the wave position. Ooh, JDD navigating there, nice little bomb there. Another second bomb, actually. Good accuracy there on the Zilean, obviously not the first time he's playing this champion, which is interesting for a top laner, but as you said, Isras have a very expansive selection to choose from when it comes to their champion picks. Does get himself out of there, but BJ
incoming
with the longest con. Knows he's there now, gets the stun down. ADD actually might get something back here. He does get it! A 1v2 kill, and now Grell's in there, forcing Hazmat to dash away.
Zilean 1v2 outplays, just zooms out of the change from Aatrox. One of the nice parts of that matchup is you're almost never going to get hit by that, and then gets the blue buff transfer, so he's going to have enough mana here to potentially set up a dive.
Yep, Grell's here as well. Hazmat does have the flash, but they're trying to bait it out here.